11-2. They start a 3-game series with the Nationals tonight at Miller Park. And outside today, mostly sunny with temperatures in the upper 70s in Milwaukee, low 80s for Madison. Tonight, partly cloudy in Milwaukee with lows in the mid-60s, mostly clear in Madison with lows in the low 60s. You're listening to Resistance Radio.
The following program is a presentation of DC Communications, LLC. Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, happy Monday.
Grudy, it is happy because I get to do this fantastic show with you once again. Good to see you, my friend.
I can give you at least a dozen dirty reasons why this is going to be a good show, Dom.
A dozen? A baker's dozen or just a dozen?
Just a dozen. The headline, at least 12 tapes handed to investigators after raid on Trump lawyer. We're talking about Michael Cohen, the fixer.
12?
Apparently, he was the founder of the Pornstar of the Month Club, Dom. There are at least a dozen tapes. Lordy, that's a lot of tapes, Dom.
That is a lot of tapes. I hope we are able to perhaps maybe do a countdown, release one a day.
Like an advent calendar? Or more like the count.
The count. You remember the count?
Well, that is breaking news, but, not exceptionally depthful news in that we don't know exactly what these tapes contain. The one, apparently exculpatory evidence, according to Giuliani, right? Because Trump had no prior knowledge of the payoff offered it was offered to AMI or it was offered to the Playboy Playmate?
They were discussing buying the AMI licensing, I believe. Whatever. I don't know. Does the distinction matter?
I read an article, I believe, at the Post over the weekend when the first thing you do is think about exculpatory evidence. That's a criminal term. Right. Something that might get your client, let's call him the president,
off the hook,
out of criminal liability or jeopardy. It would be exculpatory, Dom. And that's exactly where Giuliani's head went. So anyways.
I think it does say a lot. It is the president. It is Giuliani. But yes, at least, Crudy, according to The Guardian, at least 12 audio tapes have been handed to the U.S. government as part of the cache of material seized from Donald Trump's lawyer, Cohen, according to a new court filing.
I can't wait till that show happens. That'll be a really, really big show, Dom. Also, like a half a dozen new entrances, new honorees on the Donald Trump enemies list, huh?
I didn't know he kept a list. It's getting pretty big.
Your girl, Sarah Colonel Sanders, she had something to say from the podium today, Dom, and it wasn't very nice. You're not welcome here anymore. We're going to pull your security clearance.
It seems very political. We'll start from the Washington Post. President Trump's plan to revoke the security clearances of a handful of former officials who have been critical of his rhetoric and actions towards Russia, the White House announced on Monday. Well, let's hear Sarah Sucks to be Sanders talking about these security clearances. Let's roll with cut number 1.
The president is exploring these mechanisms to remove security clearance because they've politicized and in some cases actually monetized their public service and their security clearances and making baseless accusations of improper contact with Russia.
That gets to the heart of it at the end there.
Really wraps it up, right? Baseless accusations.
Because they've insulted the boss.
How dare you?
I mean, otherwise, Tom, clearly this Trump administration has no problem enriching itself With or without security clearances, right?
Well, I wonder
Think emoluments clauses and things of that
Jared
nature.
Kushner still has security clearance, right? Didn't pass the background check, but he gets clearance?
He was offered security clearance at one point. He has security clearance, but the former CIA director, it was even asked of Huckabee Sanders, you going to pull Obama's clearance next?
Let's hear it. Who are we talking about? Cut to.
Not only is the president looking to take away Brennan's security clearance, he's also looking into the clearances of Comey, Clapper, Hayden, Rice, and McCabe.
Yeah, to hell with all those Republicans and the one Dem with Rice. Is it politicized, Crudy? Cut 3.
The president is exploring the mechanisms to remove security clearance because they've politicized and in some cases monetized their public service and security clearances.
That seems like a repeat. And finally, cut 4, the false accusations, the baseless accusations.
When you have the highest level of security clearance, when you're the person that holds the nation's deepest, most sacred secrets at your hands, and you go out and you make false accusations against the president of the United States, he thinks that is something to be very concerned with.
What if you make true accusations against the president of the United States?
Perhaps that security that they were granted, they saw something. Perhaps they have reason to be critical.
You mean that president that's lying at an unprecedented pace, nearly 6 provable lies per day, Dom?
Baseless. Baseless. You know, Sarah repeats herself quite a bit.
She added the fact that people with security clearances are making these baseless charges provides inappropriate legitimacy to accusations with zero evidence.
Zero evidence?
You know, setting aside what? Indictments and
guilty pleas, guilty convictions, indictments, continuing investigations.
Let me not move too far away from the Washington Post, the source material. John Wagner and company. The move came shortly after Trump met with Senator Rand Paul. Now, perhaps he's the instigator, Dom, who said earlier Monday that he planned to ask the president to revoke Brennan's clearance. Hey, who else do you think we can take it away from? Yeah, let's make a list.
If we're going to do it, you fire everybody on a Friday, right? Just clean the house if you're going to do it.
Well, it's Monday, Dom. The former Obama administration... Do you not even know what day of the week it is? You and Trump. The former Obama administration CIA director last week used the word treasonous to describe Trump's performance at his summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Helsinki, saying it showed he was wholly in the pocket of Putin. Now, I understand why Trump might take some objection.
What, because that the truth got out or because it's false? There's only 2 reasons, right?
In a tweet shortly after Sanders' announcement, Rand Paul appeared to take credit for the move via tweet. Just got out of a WH White House meeting with @real Donald Trump, Paul said.
Oh, my God.
Name dropping. I restated to him what I've said in public. John Brennan and other partisans should have their security clearances revoked. Public officials should not use their security clearances to leverage speaking fees or network talking head fees, he added. Democrats immediately criticized the move as an attempt to punish former officials for leveling criticism at Trump.
You think?
This is what totalitarianism looks like, said Senator Mazi Hirano, a Democrat of Hawaii, in a tweet. A member of the Senate Republican leadership voiced skepticism of the White House actions as well. I don't know whether they've been abusing their security clearance at all, said Senate Majority Whip John Cornyn, the number 2 Republican in the chamber. That's a very serious allegation. I want to see what the results are. And at least 2 of the officials, Comey and McCabe, don't actually have security clearances. Comey hasn't had a security clearance for many months, according to a person familiar with the matter. McCabe's clearance was deactivated when he was fired from the FBI, said Melissa Schwartz, a spokeswoman for McCabe. She said McCabe's lawyers were told that was according to FBI policy. You would think the White House would check with the FBI before trying to throw shiny objects to the press corps. She wrote on Twitter, hey, We're going to take your security.
And your security clearance, Crudy Clapper, a career intelligence officer who last served as the Director of National Intelligence in the Obama administration, described the move by the White House as unprecedented and petty. Clapper said there were no grounds for dismissing his clearance and that the White House's actions were directed solely at people who have criticized the president. He said no one from the White House has contacted him about the matter, which he learned about during Sanders' remarks. Clapper also said he could not think of an instant in which a president revoked a security clearance. Reached by phone, former CIA and NSA Director Michael Hayden had no comment on the White House's statement, but he objected to any White House suggestion that he had mishandled classified information or done anything that would be grounds for revoking his security clearance.
Now, Hayden did do a little something for CNN where he is a talking head, apparently, that the self-enrichment that Trump must have meant, Dom.
It's routine for the former directors of intelligence agencies to maintain their security clearance after they've left the government. This lets them consult with current intelligence officials and share their expertise, current and former officials said.
That's where you lost the Trump administration. They don't believe in expertise.
Well, their expertise is how they feel and what they think at that
their
very
expertise
moment.
Is grifting.
And the last thing the last person told. Well, that's ultimately right. That's really what it is.
They're grifters.
Grifting and trying to come up with a cover story for each grift. No doubt about it. Brennan and Rice did not immediately react to the news. Silencing the opposition. Trump. Shocking, I tell you, shocking. And here I thought when we started the day with an all-caps tweet from Trump to Iran that was going to be the lead.
That was the shiny objectism.
Yep.
To turn the attention from his beloved Putin.
You know, if you throw too much, people spin around. They end up right back where they started. You know, you can't throw too much at people. Because ultimately, what are we doing? Trying to turn the page on the fact that he's not so tough with Putin, although he claims to be very tough with Iran today and, of course, North Korea. But really, it's all about Putin. Because Trump is hashtag Putin's bitch.
Come back with us. More on the other side. Devil's Advocates on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network got fine guests today. They include Bruce Murphy. He is the editor of Urban Milwaukee, an online daily we often quote here. Going to talk about the god-awful Attorney General of the state of Wisconsin, Dom. He's not just bad at testing rape kits, but almost every performance of law enforcement required of the office. And also, Dr. Tim Slekar going to talk a little education as it relates to the Wisconsin gubernatorial race. That'll be in the 4 o'clock hour. Those two fine gentlemen join us then. You can always join us on the phones at 844-967-2789. It's going to be a big Monday, big news day, aren't they all? Right here on the Devil's Advocates.
The intelligence community, that's of the United States of America.
He was very nice to me with words, and when I was with him, but after that there has been no relationship.
Burn already!
Milwaukee County, this is Ernell Lucas. Dr. King once said, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. It's not every day we find ourselves in situations that define our character, but I've had many. As a young police officer, I was shot in the face by an assailant, nearly making the ultimate sacrifice. I gathered the courage to return to duty because of my passion and commitment to serving and protecting our community. More recently, after the careless disregard for human life in the Milwaukee County Jail, I summoned the courage to stand up to a failed sheriff and his commanders. For over 40 years, I have stood watch over our community, keeping you safe and protecting our national pastime. On Tuesday, August 14, show your courage by standing with me to restore honor, integrity, and trust to the Sheriff's Office. I'm asking you to vote Ernell Lucas for Milwaukee County Sheriff, a leader with the courage to stand up for our community.
Paid for by Lucas for Milwaukee.
I would like to thank you, President Trump. I also want to express my thanks to Governor Walker.
Foxconn CEO Terry Goh is thankful to the Republicans who delivered his $4.5 billion in corporate welfare.
Thank you to Foxconn.
Scott Walker thanks the foreign corporation who received the largest corporate welfare subsidy in history.
Thank you, Mr. President.
What about thanking the hardworking Wisconsin taxpayers you saddled with a generation of debt for a project that may never be paid back?
People should be rushing to me and patting my back and say, hey, thank you, Mr. Foxon.
Call Governor Scott Walker at 608-266-1212 and tell him no thank you to corporate welfare, no thank you to environmental rollbacks, no thank you to a project that may never be paid back, no thank you to Foxconn. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org. Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We've got a patented system. We also do another step that most people don't do. We have a double rotating brush machine that we use when we pre-treat the carpet. So this helps dig up any of that stuff that's deeper in your carpet that the vacuum doesn't get. We're going to provide that intermediary step before we clean with our empowered water.
Call Zero Res today, 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
Jeff's Guitar Clinic is a multifaceted shop offering guitars, amplifiers, and all accessories, guitar lessons for all ages, and instrument repair of the highest quality. Jeff'sGuitar.com.
Looking for a job worth talking about? Teaching is creative, collaborative, and intellectually challenging. See why teachers have better work stories at teachdfw.org and learn more about becoming a teacher. Brought to you by Teach and the Ad Council.
Once again, the American public has some reading to do. In a 29-page indictment today, Americans need to take a look at page 6, paragraph 20, and here come those important 8 words: to interfere with the 2016 U.S. presidential election. That is it.
Jim, I'm going to make a confession on behalf of the panel. Dom's not going to read the indictments.
Come on, maybe.
The Devil's Advocates, political commentary from the back of the class.
And during the few moments that we have left, we want to talk right down to earth in a language that everybody here can easily understand.
The Devil's Advocates. Sausage making never looks so good.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, streaming live on the YouTube and Facebook pages. We're on Twitter at Devil Radio, and the party line is always open for your talk or text, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, they're working here on Brady Street. You know, big party coming on the street this weekend.
Oh, Brady Street Festival, man. Saturday.
You know, effectively, I know it's sort of an unofficial anniversary, but we moved into this facility and partied our asses off for the very first time Brady Street last year.
I remember you were a little head bobbly at that point.
That's the sign of a good party, when Crudy gets a little head bobby at the end. You know, we're going to give away bumper stickers. We encourage you, come down to the street, see all the big shows going on, many of them live right here from our Brady Street location on the 1200 block. Just look for us. We got the big Resistance R's on the windows, in the super cool host in the windows, and come down and see us on Saturday. I'm going to do a little broadcasting myself. I'm joining my friend Joe Costa.
Nice.
In the afternoon at minimum.
Are we broadcasting outside? Are we staying inside?
Oh, I think there will be a combination of outside on the street, inside in the studio.
We'll have a little tent set up outside. Come down, get a bumper sticker, say hello.
Bring us a cold one.
And have a drink.
Yes, absolutely. It will be pandemonium on the streets.
Saturday, Brady Street Festival, 11 till midnight, I believe.
That's sort of unofficially your wife's party, right?
It is. She throws one hell of a party.
She does throw one hell of a party. We encourage you all to come down here and join us this big Saturday. Dom, cult of personality. What's the Trumpster tweeting out early this morning? I got to think this man's feeling a little pressure.
Well, so much going on, Crudy and Trump. We're not going to get into start at
Fortunately,
the beginning.
though.
He's got a lot of time?
Fortunately, the new Carter page, the FISA stuff that got released.
Oh, yes.
Completely vindicates him, right?
Yeah, here's Trump tweeting. I'll start at almost the beginning. Quote, so now we find out that it was indeed the unverified and fake dirty dossier that was paid for by crooked Hillary Clinton and the DNC that was knowingly and falsely submitted to FISA and which was responsible for starting the totally conflicted and discredited Mueller witch hunt.
Wait. Dirty dossier. Hey, A, it's your pee-pee tape. And B, I know he wants to blame this on Hillary Clinton and the law firm that represented her, but let's not forget.
Remind me, Michael, you know how I get sometimes.
It was actually a Scott Walker supporter.
Paul Singer,
Free Beacon, Washington Free Beacon. Scott Walker, donor of $250,000, when there was the uncapped recall. When Scott Walker was gathering up his national donor base, well, Paul Singer was one of them. And then Scott Walker turned around and ran for president, right?
Yes.
And early in that race, even before he declared, he was the front runner. The Republican leading in the polls, wowed them. All those Christian conservatives sure did love them some preacher's kid.
So did
down
Butina.
In Iowa.
So did Maria Butina.
Oh, the Russian spy
yes.
who was at the NRA meeting. Well, Scott Walker, greeted her apparently at the VIP green room. And then later, somehow she found herself invited to his presidential campaign launch.
Still some explanation to do there, but let's not lose sight, Michael. And then, of course, the funder of the Steele dossier, Paul Singer, Washington Free Beacon, a Scott Walker supporter. Once it was appeared that Trump was going to win.
Well, soon as Donald Trump ran, effectively all the oxygen of Scott Walker's candidacy was gone. He was out of it by September. And then Singer became a Marco Rubio guy, I believe, in October. And basically, after it appeared that Trump was going to win the primary, well, he handed off the kit and caboodle. And then and only then did Hillary's team start paying the tab.
Well, Fusion GPS went to go find another funder, and they found Hillary and the Dems. They'll continue funding what the Republicans started.
As long as we don't pretend like Hillary started this.
But no, and that's only one of the pieces, one of the falsehoods here, Crudy, because this investigation was started before the dossier.
Dirty dossier.
Dirty dossier.
If there's it's a dirty dozen tapes of Donald Trump and Michael Cohen, the Fixer. Can't wait till the day those drop. We're the Devil's Advocate. See how I almost dropped that, but I caught it with my cat-like reflexes. Come back. 844-967-2789. Your calls and texts. Welcome here.
I hope it's not true, but it looks like it is.
I don't see any reason why it would be.
I'm not an expert on the facts yet. I'm getting there.
Join the resistance against dirty carpets. Call Zero Res Madison today for our summer special. Clean and sanitize 3 rooms for only $139. Call 608-848-9000 or schedule online at ZeroResMadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable, but how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
I'm Jesse Pica-Holz with Solidarity Realty. If you're looking for a home in Madison or Dane County, call me. I know Madison. I know homes. I'll protect your best interests. Call Solidarity Realty at 608-284-9311 or search solidarityrealty.com.
Well, you are listening to Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network. Ooh, I just felt a trickle down. No, I don't recall doing it.
Do you love public education? Do you want to support your schools? Then you should support the people who make them work. You should support teachers and their unions. Teachers' working conditions are students' learning conditions, and when the school bell rings, it is crucial that teachers do not check their rights at the door. The ability to organize and advocate around issues that improve the quality of a teacher's workplace will increase opportunities for students and make schools safer for everyone. Stand with teachers, stand with WEAC Region 7.
Hi, I'm Anton Capella. As Chief Technology Officer at Five Nines, I work hard to be a leader in my industry, and I know the challenges posed by changing technology. It's my priority to make sure your network is up over 99% of the time. There's no question, trying to manage your own business IT is risky, costly, and time-consuming. Don't let IT overwhelm you. Learn more about Five Nines at fivenines.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
Listen, as a hiring manager, I've got to tell you, the best job candidate isn't always the typical candidate. Sometimes they're a grad of life.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Sometimes the best candidates aren't the ones you're used to.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Ignacio, what do you got for us today?
Hey, I quit paying attention for like maybe one day, and all hell breaks loose. That goes to show me I got to pay attention every single day to your radio program, or else who knows what'll happen.
If you don't listen to the Devil's Advocates 3 hours every day, Nacho, you're missing a lot.
You got that right. I just learned that today. I turned it on and I'm listening, and you really just rocked my world today. I was just totally blown away.
Save the $2 on tomorrow's paper. Listen to the Devil's Advocates today.
Totally blown away.
For Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Construction-related companies in southeastern Wisconsin are invited to a pair of informational meetings next week to learn about how to get involved with the construction of the Foxconn factory. The meetings will be held next Wednesday, August 1st, at Gateway Technical College in Sturtevant. Representatives from construction companies can sign up for the first session, which starts at 11:30, or the second session that begins at 2:30. To register, go to wisconvalley.wi.gov. And outside today, mostly sunny with temperatures in the upper 70s in Milwaukee, low 80s for Madison. Tonight, partly cloudy in Milwaukee with lows in the mid-60s, mostly clear in Madison with lows in the low 60s. You're listening to Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Happy Monday to everyone. You know, Trump was, it was building up over the weekend.
Yeah.
Some guys rub one out. Trump just shoots out some tweets. Kind of gets the early morning frustrations out. Dom, we barely got through one lying tweet. There are more. People should have a sense of this president. Don't you think?
Trump continues 10 hours ago. It was classified to cover up, talking about this investigation. It was classified to cover up misconduct by the FBI and the Justice Department in misleading the court by using this dossier in a dishonest way to gain a warrant to target the Trump team. This is a Clinton campaign document. It was a fraud and a hoax designed to target Trump and the DOJ. The FBI and Obama gang need to be held to account.
I'm not sure what's been discredited precisely about the Steele dossier anyways. Let's assume it was entirely on Hillary's dime, even though it wasn't. It was Paul Singer, Washington Free Beacon, Scott Walker donor.
Let's not assume that. This is an investigation. Let's call it a PI. So the Republicans hired a PI to look into Trump.
Do some opposition research. Let's face
just
facts.
Keep it simple. We'll call it Columbo. We'll be really simple about this.
Dig some dirt.
And then Trump was going to win, so they cut off the funding. Well, the guy's got this information. He's halfway down the path. Well, he goes over to the other side of the street. Hey!
Dirt for sale.
We'll buy it. The DNC then funds it.
But the ironic part, of course, is Donald Trump was actively, I believe, July 27th of 2016, standing on a stage encouraging the Russians to illegally go dig out in Hillary's email servers, right?
Yes.
Go find the missing emails.
You will be rewarded greatly by our press.
Just one more thing.
Irony. You see the irony?
So let us continue the tweeting of Donald Trump. Regarding, avoided talking about it, being the Clinton campaign behind it, misled the courts to provide a pretext to spy on the Trump team, not about Carter Page. It was all about getting Trump. Carter Page wasn't a spy, wasn't an agent of the Russians. He would have cooperated with the FBI. It was a fraud and a hoax designed to target Trump. Tom Fitton from Judicial Watch. A disgrace to America. They should drop the discredited Mueller witch hunt now. When you hear the fake news talking negatively about my meeting with President Putin and all that I gave up, remember, I gave up nothing, capitalized. We merely talked about the future benefits for both countries. Also, we got along very well, which is a good thing, except for the corrupt media.
How many more of these are there?
There's a couple more, but he starts to, weave in and out of consciousness and topic. And he just goes on to mention North Korea and Amazon and Washington Post. So, and I think I saw a U.S. Post Office reference in there too. I mean,
and they don't charge Amazon enough for freight postage.
And no collusion.
All the important topics on his mind, Dom.
So let's stay at one at a time here. Page.
Carter Page.
FISA warrant on Page. Now, the fact that this was released is apparently a big deal.
Now, Carter Page did describe himself as a Kremlin advisor. You realize that's how he self-assessed. I'm going to read Philip Bump at the Washington Post. Earlier this year, the political world was gripped by a stunning accusation from Rep. Devin Nunes that the government's application for a warrant to surveil former Trump campaign advisor Carter Page was born of biased and almost entirely reliant on a dossier of information compiled on the dime of Democratic operatives. He had a memo that made the argument eventually, and probably without much goading, President Trump was persuaded to release it publicly. The Nunes memo, you remember the hype, Dom. Even based on what was known then, the hype surrounding Nunes' memo seemed to oversell the point. In short order, other revelations about the warrant application made it clear that the contents of the memo were iffy. It was the second time in 2 years that Nunes had gone to bat in defense of one of Trump's pet theories, and neither time worked out that well. As it turns out, though, Nunes' efforts to raise questions about the surveillance warrant granted by the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, FISA, Dom, were even less robust than they seemed at the time. With the release of Friday of a redacted copy of both the initial warrant application targeting Page in October of 2016 and 3 90-day extensions of the warrant, we can get a better sense of just how far from the mark Nunes' memo actually was. The Nunes memo made a number of interpretive claims, assessments of the importance of aspects of the warrant, as well as a number of factual claims. Among the latter were, one, Dom, that the dossier of reports from former British intelligence officer Christopher Steele on behalf of the firm Fusion GPS were an essential part of the application. 2, that the fact that the Fusion GPS was being paid by a law firm working for Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign and the Democratic National Committee was never explicitly stated. 3, that neither Steele nor Fusion GPS are identified by name. 4, the application cites a Yahoo News article from September of 2016 that does not corroborate the Steele dossier because it is derived from information leaked by Steele himself to Yahoo News. The application also incorrectly asserts that Steele wasn't directly Yahoo's source for the story. So what? Little slipshod investigation. So what, Dom? And number 5, the application mentions another Trump campaign advisor, George Papadopoulos, but that there is no evidence that cooperation between him and Page. The memo made a number of other claims focusing on information related to the launch of the investigation into Page that aren't illuminated any further by the released document. We can begin with the first point above. The Steele dossier information was essential to the warrant. Dom, that doesn't seem quite right.
At the outset, Page is described in the warrant application as an agent of a foreign power, specifically Russia. The third section of the application details the evidence linking Page to Russia, beginning with Page having lived in the country for several years.
Predating the Trump campaign.
And being mentioned as a possible target for recruitment by Russian intelligence officers about 5 years ago, at which point he was interviewed by the FBI.
You mean prior to October of 2016, Dom?
Yes, sir. The first 4 pages of this section, excluding footnotes, are either redacted or deal with that prior interaction with federal authorities. The information from the Steele dossier comprises the next 4.5 pages, including footnotes. It is followed by Page's public response to reports that he was under investigation, a response triggered by the Yahoo article. That response runs for about 3.5 pages and makes up the 4th section of the report. 5 fully redacted pages making up the 5th and 6th sections of the report follow, leading into the document's conclusions. It's clear that the information uncovered by Steele does play a prominent role. It's impossible to say how critical it was to the warrant, though, because so much of the document is redacted. What isn't redacted, though, makes a few things clear. First, that the Yahoo article is introduced not as a corroborating story, but as the first part of the section titled Page's Denial of Cooperation with the Russian Government. As noted above, that article spurred Page's response, which is included. There's no suggestion from the unredacted document that it was included to serve as a second source for the story. Minor details, Crudy. While the warrant
Are you saying Nunez implied otherwise?
It seems to be so. While the warrant application does state that the FBI does not believe that source number 1, Steele, directly provided this information to the press, which was incorrect, the same footnote, number 18, clearly implies that Glenn Simpson of Fusion GPS might have been the Yahoo source, undercutting the idea that the FBI was trying to use Yahoo to bolster the significance of Steele's findings. Steele's findings, by the way, include allegations that Page met with key Russian officials during a trip to Moscow in July of 2016. Page later admitted to the House Intelligence Committee that despite past denials, he had encountered senior Russian officials on the trip, albeit not the ones Steele identified.
No, it was different Russian spies I met with.
That was Sergei.
You guys have it all wrong.
It was the other Sergei. There's so many Sergeis in so little time. Each of the 3 renewals of the warrant to surveil Page was granted after the FBI argued that it needed to keep collecting data on Page. The length of the renewals relative to the original application suggests the government kept adding new information to its requests on the surveillance as the surveillance was ongoing.
They call that evidence of wrongdoing, Dom.
Consider 3 sections that appear in each document. The 3rd section, including the Steele information, the 4th through 6th sections, including Page's denial and more redacted information, and the conclusion. Here's a page number where each of those appears in each document. As time passes, more information is added to the warrant applications. The middle section, whatever it contained, kept getting larger, meaning that section dealing with the Steele report made up less, the section dealing with the Steele report made up less and less of the overall application.
Dom, it's worth noting, by the way, that after Steele leaked the existence of his dossier to Mother Jones in late October, the FBI cut off its relationship with him. That's indicated in a bold type footnote in the renewal applications. In or about October 2016, the FBI suspended its relationship with source number 1, Steele, due to source number 1's unauthorized disclosure of information to the press. It reads, however, notwithstanding the suspension of the relationship with source 1, the FBI assesses source 1 to be reliable, as previous reportings from source 1 have been corroborated and used in criminal proceedings. In the initial application, a footnote which appears on the page in type the same size as the rest of the warrant indicates Steele had been a corroborated FBI source in the past about whom the FBI was unaware of any derogatory information, unlike Carter Page, Dom. There's a full page of footnotes that includes an exploration of the motivations behind Steele's research, specifically noting why Steele's reason for conducting the research doesn't disqualify its validity, meaning it doesn't matter if Hillary Clinton is paying you. If you've dug the dirt and there's validity to the dirt, there's still validity to the dirt.
And does it matter that the Republicans paid him first? Let's never forget that part, but please continue.
You've noticed that Steele isn't mentioned by name in the application and is referred to as Source 1. The critique that Steele and Fusion GPS aren't identified by name is especially hollow because none of the key actors are. Trump is candidate 1. Clinton, candidate 2, the Republican Party, political party 1. Clinton, Fusion GPS, Steele, and the DNC aren't identified by name because no one is, say Page, some Russians, and Papadopoulos. The context for naming Papadopoulos isn't clear. The document is largely redacted in this section where he's mentioned, but that section does include 2 important unredacted lines. The FBI believe that Russian government's efforts are being coordinated with Page and perhaps other individuals associated with candidate 1's campaign, Trump's campaign. And Page has established relationships with Russian government officials, including Russian intelligence officers. For all that we've learned in the release of the memo, there's still an enormous amount of redacted information that prevents us from getting anywhere close to the full picture of what happened from the evidence at hand, though. It is certainly fair to assume that it's Nunes's memo, not the Warren application, that suffered from a stronger political bias in its creation. We can't entirely blame Nunes, though. In an interview with Fox News in February, he admitted that he himself hadn't read the Warren application.
How could you possibly release your own report without having reviewed the actual application?
Or as Sean Hannity and Donald Trump will say later, fully vindicated.
Exculpatory?
Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. I don't even know if you know what that means. Come back with us. Join us on the phones, 844-967-2789.
He was literally breathing down my neck. My skin crawled.
But she's a witch! Lock her up, lock her up!
But there's been no collusion, no obstruction, and virtually everybody agrees to that.
Just one more thing.
You take drugs, Danny?
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
Excuse me. I know you have a 9 o'clock, so I'll keep this short. I'm the business suit in the back of your closet. You wore me nearly every day before your office went, quote, casual. I used to be the CEO of your closet. Now I'm just that one intern no one ever talks to. I always thought you'd circle back with me, get granular, keep me in the pipeline. But nada. Nothing. Don't you remember the McKittrick presentation? You spilled coffee on me and I still looked amazing during the breakout talkback Q&A. So, I think it's time for me to move on. I've got a great resume and I absolutely crush it in interviews, okay? Let's make this a clean break. Shift the paradigm. The only thing I ask is that you think outside the box here and do this. Take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create new jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff. Create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Once again, the American public has some reading to do. In a 29-page indictment today, Americans need to take a look at page 6, paragraph 20, and here come those important 8 words: to interfere with the 2016 U.S. presidential election. That is it.
Jim, I'm going to make a confession on behalf of the panel. Dom's not going to read the indictments.
Come on, maybe.
The Devil's Advocates, political commentary from the back of the class.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
On marijuana, unfortunately, as a public health issue and a public safety issue, I've opposed that.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta, how can medical marijuana help those addicted to opioids?
There's three big things. There's clear consensus now that cannabis can treat pain. That is not an opinion. That is a consensus conclusion by big scientific bodies like the National Academy of Science. We also know that it can help treat the withdrawal symptoms of opioids. People, they don't want to be on anymore. They want to quit, but they develop the terrible withdrawal symptoms. And now we have evidence that it can actually help heal the part of the brain that is diseased in someone who's an opioid addict. If you had to start from scratch and design a substance to help lead us out of the opioid epidemic, like in a lab, it would probably look very much like cannabis.
Call Governor Scott Walker at 608-266-1212. Tell him good people do smoke marijuana. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
60% of the time, they're right every time. Dom and Krutz are the devil's advocates.
Time was drifting, this rocket got to roll. So I hit the road and made my getaway.
Come on, man, you want more cowbell or more content?
More cowbell and a little more content.
Buddy, it's your segment. Get us started.
We are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network phone lines open at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, just talking about your buddy Devin Nunes. Why this man,
Danny Noonan,
continues to have a gavel. House, Intelligence Committee? Are you freaking kidding me? Well, we talked about the fact the Nunes memo completely or nearly completely discredited. And New York Times, a column piece, Michelle Goldberg, begs this question, Dom, are Republicans covering for Trump or for themselves?
Uh-oh.
Of all the interlocking mysteries of the Trump-Russia scandal, one that I found particularly perplexing is the utter servility of congressional Republicans before a president many of them hate and believed to be compromised by a foreign power. Yes, I know they're thrilled about tax cuts and judges. Given how Russia has become a patron of the right globally over the last decade, some Republicans might welcome its intervention into our politics, believing that Democrats are the greater enemies of the Republic. And some are just cowards, afraid of mean tweets or base blowback. But that doesn't explain why, for example, Speaker Paul Ryan, a Russia hawk who is retiring in January, allowed his party to torpedo the House Intelligence Committee investigation into Russian interference in the election. Ryan, after all, knows full well who and what Donald Trump is. In a secretly recorded June 2016 conversation about Ukraine obtained by the Washington Post, the House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy said this: "There's two people I think Putin pays, Rohrabacher and Trump." Far from disagreeing, Ryan said, "What's said in the family stays in the family."
What?
If he were patriotic, or even if he just wanted to set himself up for a comeback, should Trump implode, he would have stood up for the rule of law in the Russian inquiry. It's hard to see what he got in return for choosing not to. This week, however, a new possibility comes into focus. Perhaps rather than covering for Trump, some Republicans are covering for themselves. Last Friday, Robert Mueller, the special counsel, indicted 12 members of Russian military intelligence for their interference in the 2016 election. The indictment claims that in August of 2016, Guccifer 2.0, a fictitious online persona adopted by Russian hackers, received a request for stolen documents from a candidate for the U.S. Congress. The Russian conspirators obliged, sending the candidate's stolen documents related to the candidate's opponents. Congress has so far done nothing discernible to find out who that candidate might be. Then on Monday, we learned that the arrest of Maria Butina, who is accused of being a Russian agent who infiltrated the National Rifle Association, the most important outside organization in the Republican firmament. Legal filings in the case outline a plan to use the NRA to push the Republican Party in a more pro-Russian direction. Butina, 29, appears to work for Alexander Torshin, a Republican politician linked to organized crime, who is a target of U.S. sanctions. She developed a romantic relationship, I'd say transactional sex, with Paul Erickson, a conservative operative close to the NRA. Court filings cite evidence it was insincere on her part, you think? Erickson, in turn, wrote to a Trump advisor in May 2016 about using the NRA to set up a back channel to the Kremlin. The young Russian woman clearly understood the political significance of the NRA. In one email, court papers say she described the central place and influence of the NRA and the Republican Party. Through her pro-gun activism, she became a fixture of the conservative movement and was photographed with influential Republican politicians. See Scott Walker. A Justice Department filing quotes Torshin as comparing her to another young famous Russian agent. You have upstaged Anna Chapman. She poses with toy pistols while you're being published with real ones. Here's a good question, not the completion, but a good question posed, Tom. If the NRA as an organization turns out to be compromised, it would shake the conservative politics to its foundation, and this is no longer a far-fetched possibility. I serve on both the Intelligence Committee and the Finance Committee. Senator Ron Wyden, Democrat of Oregon, told me, so I have a chance to really look at this through the periscope of both committees. And what I have wondered about for some time is this whole issue of whether the NRA is getting subverted as a Russian asset, kind of like the president.
There's more to that piece from the New York Times. Are Republicans covering for Trump or themselves? Can it be both? The Center for Responsive Politics said the NRA's overall spending increased by more than $100 million in 2016.
I'm sure they just had some scratch in the pillowcase, Tom. Come back with us.
A good fundraising year for the NRA.
Outstanding. Trump top of the ticket, you raise bigly. We've got Bruce Murphy, editor of the online daily Urban Milwaukee. He's going to talk about the hack Wisconsin Attorney General. It'll be bigly. Come back with us. Hour 2 is next.
It's really an honor to work with the NRA, not only in my state, but across the country.
But there's been no collusion, no obstruction, and virtually everybody agrees.
I'm Andy Buck, field representative with Painters and Allied Trades of Wisconsin. It's an issue that brings constant challenges for building contractors. How to find qualified painters, glazers, and drywall finishers. IUPAT knows what you want. A professional job performed by skilled workers who care about safety, training, and finishing strong. Workers who are reliable and ready on demand. Let IUPAT provide the people power that you need. You'll feel confident the job is finished right. Connect at IUPATDC7.com and finish strong.
J.D. Davis Funeral Home, located at 4803 West Burlott Street, is dedicated, dignified, and distinguished in serving you in your time of need. Direct cremation specials starting at a very low cost of $595. That does not include cremation permit or crematory fee. Traditional funeral packages starting at $1,995 with a 20-gauge metal casket included. Title 19, Milwaukee County General Assistance accepted. Call today, 414-444-8300.
I'm jumping in with my clothes on.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Indoor baseball, anyone?
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
My Congresswoman Gwen Moore.
I think that you guys are filling a very important space. I think African Americans consume radio at a very high rate, and they really rely on radio for information. And so, word of warning to all those candidates out there, don't ignore these inexpensive ways to advertise.
Well, wait until we get our FM. They're going to get more expensive all the time.
Radio for the 99%.
You are listening to 1510 AM WRRD Waukesha, Milwaukee, and 1580 AM WTTN Columbus, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio.
Targeting critics, Iran double down. I'm Mike Moss. President Trump is threatening to revoke the security clearances of 6 former Obama intelligence chiefs who have been among his fiercest Russia critics. Here's correspondent Bob Costantini.
It's hard to imagine President Trump seeking counsel from intelligence and law enforcement officials of the Obama administration, but Press Secretary Sarah Sanders lets on security clearances for former CIA Chief John Brennan, former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, Obama National Security Advisor Susan Rice, and George W. Bush's CIA and NSA Director Michael Hayden, plus fired FBI Director James Comey, all may be revoked.
Because they've politicized and in some cases actually monetized their public service and their security clearance and making baseless accusations of improper contact with Russia.
All those who might be targeted were recently critical of the president's handling of the Helsinki summit with Vladimir Putin. Bob Costantini, Washington.
Among those threatened with a loss of security clearance is former National Director of Intelligence James Clapper.
Legally, the president has that prerogative. He can suspend or revoke clearances as he sees fit. And if he chooses to do it for political reasons, well, I think that's a terrible precedent, and it's a very sad commentary, and it's an abuse of the system.
The White House is blaming Iranian President Hassan Rouhani for inciting a war of words with President Trump. Trump sent an all-caps tweet late Sunday warning of dire consequences should Iran threaten the United States again. Canadian officials say a man with a knife has been arrested during the changing of the guard on Parliament Hill in Ottawa. Unclear if the incident's related to the mass shooting in Toronto. Salvage workers have raised the drunken dunk boat in Missouri. They hope to find clues as to why the boat sank, killing 17. Nike's given 7,000 workers a raise to improve pay equity among its staff. And on Wall Street, the Dow closed down 13. I'm Mike Moss.
Join the resistance against dirty carpets. Call Zero Res Madison today for our summer special. Clean and sanitize 3 rooms for only $139. Call 608-848-9000 or schedule online at ZeroResMadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.
Juice, Mom! Juice, juice, juice! Mommy, why are we going to the store? Mom, I want juice! Mom! Juice, juice, juice! Mom!
Your child will have different needs at different stages of life, and that includes the car seat. See, car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Protect your child's future at every stage of life. Go to safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
5 9s, your local single-source IT solutions provider. Specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
Authorities in Houston have released surveillance photos of a man suspected of shooting to death a cardiologist who once treated former President George H.W. Bush. Correspondent Clayton Neville says the doctor was riding his bicycle to work Friday morning at Texas Medical Center when he was shot by another man on a bike.
Police say the shooter rode past Dr. Mark Hauschknecht, then turned around and shot him. A composite sketch of the suspect wearing glasses and a cap has also been released. Surveillance photos show the bicyclist crossing paths, and authorities still investigating whether the killing was random or targeted.
Hundreds of thousands of vaccines provided for Chinese children have been found to be faulty, inciting widespread fury and prompting the country's president to describe the incident as vile and shocking. China's Food and Drug Chief has revoked the license for human rabies vaccine and is beginning to recall all unused vaccines produced by the company. I'm Mike Moss.
Milwaukee County, this is Ernell Lucas. How much longer must we wait to drive a freeway system free from reckless, intoxicated, and wrong-way drivers? How much longer will it take before we can enjoy a park system where our seniors can safely go for a walk and our young people can run and play? How much longer will it be before you are served by a sheriff's office that honors the dignity of every human being, including those detained in the jail? As your next Milwaukee County Sheriff, I will ensure your safety on our freeway system and in our parks. I will lead a sheriff's office that honors all human dignity and protects individual rights. On Tuesday, August 14, I am asking you to vote Ernell Lucas for Milwaukee County Sheriff. How much longer will it be before we build a strong and safe Milwaukee County? Not long.
Paid for by Lucas for Milwaukee.
For Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. The 4 Democratic candidates for governor who are in the best financial position to challenge Governor Walker met for a candidates forum aimed at millennials yesterday. The forum was held at the historic Pabst Brewery in Milwaukee and featured Tony Evers, Malin Mitchell, Kelda Roys, and Matt Flynn. The primary election is August 14th, 3 weeks from tomorrow. And the Brewers lost to the Dodgers yesterday 11-2. They start a 3-game series with the Nationals tonight at Miller Park. And outside today, mostly sunny with temperatures in the upper 70s in Milwaukee, low 80s for Madison. Tonight, partly cloudy in Milwaukee with lows in the mid-60s, mostly clear in Madison with lows in the low 60s. You're listening to Resistance Radio.
The following program is a presentation of DC Communications, LLC. Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back, hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dom, we welcome back a fine guest right now live via phone. He is Bruce Murphy. He is the editor of the online daily UrbanMilwaukee.com. Bruce, welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show.
Thanks very much. Good to be here.
Thank you, sir.
Well, Bruce, I love the fact that you're one of the few still doing Wisconsin political journalism, and I've noted a couple of your pieces of late. Want to start with the gubernatorial race, Bruce. I thought there'd be more excitement on the Democratic side. It's kind of turned into a yawner, sir.
Yeah, it's the debate that was on television last week was it a week ago, whatever, was pretty weak, and it seems like a sleepwalk for Tony Evers, but I guess I'm feeling like the possible dark horse here is Kelda Roys.
Now, do you think that your viewers, your news consumers out there at Urban Milwaukee, do you think they've been paying attention, Bruce? I mean, everyone gets the impression that this race is going to sort itself out in the last 2 weeks. I start, in my gut, I feel like it's too little too late already. I'm no offense to Tony Evers, but it seems like a foregone conclusion at this point.
Well, I don't think it is. Obviously, the Marquette poll suggests he has a pretty significant lead. But, it's just, I guess I tend to think that figure for Evers is perhaps a little soft because I think so many people are not paying much attention. And perhaps they just went with a name that they knew. And he's run 3 times for statewide office. So assuming there's going to be some point where most Democratic voters start to pay attention to the race, I could imagine that what was found in the poll could change pretty significantly.
Bruce, when do you think that's going to be? About August 13th? Are you a little surprised?
I think, yes, the stroke of 8 p.m. the night before.
I got to tell you, Bruce, I have been a little surprised by how little differentiation people have had in their support. They say, lots of good candidates. It's almost like they're thinking, well, let the primary sort itself out, and I'll support whoever makes it through to the general against Scott Walker. I think there's little doubt where the battle lines are drawn, Bruce, but I'm a little shocked as many Democratic primary voters, as I've talked to, that are undecided, completely undecided this late in the race.
Well, but it's worth noting races nowadays are so much about TV ads, and really no one has been advertising until very recently. So Matt Flynn has come out, Kelderoy's has come out. I mean, so I think that's going to make a difference. You're going to start to see a lot of ads in the last 3 weeks of the campaign, and people will start to pay a little more attention to the race.
One would hope, sir. Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Got to find journalists. He is Bruce Murphy, editor at the online daily UrbanMilwaukee.com. Bruce, want to talk some about the Attorney General, current Republican Attorney General Brad Schimel. Now, I knew he had a bad record on getting rape kits tested, but Bruce, he pretty much has a bad record on every component of law enforcement that falls upon his desk. Can you help me clarify that point, Bruce?
Well, it is a pretty dreadful record. I mean, it's sort of stunning. Because for starters, this is supposed to be a Republican tough-on-crime guy, so you would think this is the one thing that you could expect that he would do, which would be tough on crime. And in fact, he seems to be soft on all crimes. So, I mean, aside from the incredible delay of testing rape kits, which really means that potential and quite likely people who have committed sexual assault are not being nabbed because of this. You've had a backlog of more than 6,000 rape kits. He's had $5 million of federal money to process this and did almost nothing for 2.5 years. I mean, honestly, I find it shocking. So that's just for starters.
Well, Bruce, can I jump in though? And I saw that on your piece, and it reminded me, because this isn't old news. This has been reported, but you condense it so nicely for everyone to remind them. $5 million and nothing was done. Do we have any sense? Where's the money? Is it in an account? Did they spend it on something else? Was it earmarked specifically for rape kits? Do we have any sense of that part of it?
No, and I think what should have been happening is they should have been forwarding these kits to private labs to have them processed. The cost is $1,000 per test, and they could have nearly eliminated the entire backlog. Instead, he's waited. For whatever reason, there's some theory that maybe he was trying to save money. That didn't work at all, because now, because of the campaign and because he's so embarrassed by it, he's hired staff on overtime. He's spent all this additional taxpayer money to try to speed up the process of processing these rape kits when he could have been doing it at his own sweet time going back 2.5 years. This is complete mismanagement. And by the way, yes, there have been some things written about this, but I've actually been shocked by how little coverage there's been. This story has been driven by one reporter from the Appleton Post-Crescent, and to the extent that the Journal-Sentinel has done anything with it, they've buried it on the jump page. I doubt most of the readers have any idea this is even going on.
I did not. Many of these details, it's not just the rape kits. Some of the other issues, DNA testing, jumped from 43 days to 76 days.
Yes, and this is something the AP did more recently, and did a open records request. And so, besides the DNA testing, you've got average turnaround time for gun testing. I thought Republicans were about guns. Increased from 113 days to 171 days, even though submissions, cases actually dropped during this time. The turnaround time for tool mark analysis went from 277 days to 511 days, even though tool mark submissions decreased. Now, what are we talking about tool marks? That could be guns, it could be knives, it could be any kind of tool used to commit a crime, which can leave marks at the scene of the crime that you do a forensic analysis. And this Department of Justice is way, way behind. They've fallen way behind under Schimel's leadership. And then the last one is drug testing, and there it nearly doubled from 42 to 80 days. And there again, the actual number of cases that they're processing that are coming into them has gone down, and yet the time they're taking to do these analysis has gone way up. I mean, this is incredible mismanagement.
Bruce, we must imagine it's not all complacency on behalf of the Attorney General. Is the man trying not to hire staff? Is there such a commitment to the bottom line of the budget, at least the employee budget, that the guy's just not staffing up the way he should? I thought I just read in the paper earlier today he's bringing in outside consultants. Bruce, is it something to do with Scott Walker and holding the line on employees?
Well, that may well be, but it's worth noting that Schimel has the ability to go to the legislature and say, look, we've got some significant things here that need to be taken care of, and I need more money. I didn't hear him ever suggest that. And the other issue is, frankly, is this Attorney General using his staff on things like constantly suing Obamacare and other ideological quests, while meanwhile ignoring what is surely the most basic thing everyone in the state cares about, which is going after criminals?
Bruce, have we seen any movement by Attorney General Schimel to address these now that he's running for election? I mean, perhaps hiring these outside consultants? I mean, is this been done? Are we sending these kits out now?
Well, this outside consultant was hired to make suggestions about how better to handle the rape kit backlog. As far as all these other areas where they seem to have a big backlog, this has all come out. This just came out last week.
Wow.
And there has been no response from the Attorney General to that.
Bruce, when it takes half a year to a year and a half to get back your testing analysis, how does one seek swift justice on behalf of the victims?
Yeah, I think it's a big problem, and it's worth noting. I wrote earlier about this, and another issue. I mean, like they had quotes. This Appleton Post-Crescent story had quotes from someone from the Green Bay Police Department saying the reason that our tests were delayed in terms of being tested, the rape kits, was because we were waiting to hear from the State Department of Justice, and they finally drove the tests over there.
Bruce Murphy, any other thoughts for our audience before we wrap this up today? My only thought is we got a god-awful Attorney General, but any you have, sir?
Well, he's got an opponent, Democrat Josh Kaul, and Kaul has made a big issue of the rape kits, and he has pointed to Portland, which during that same period of time did, process their tests way faster than Wisconsin did. So they took it seriously. They had, I think actually less money to take care of this issue than the State Department of Justice did, and had a great record. So there's no reason it couldn't have been done. For some reason, this was just not a priority for the Attorney General.
Do you think when they printed the kicking ass every day coins, Bruce, do you think they meant except for, like 3-4 day weekends and extended vacations? Do you think they're just kind of mailing it in, Bruce?
I don't know. But I do think that when you've spent money on those silly buttons to give people, and meanwhile say you don't have enough money or resources to go after some of this stuff, that doesn't look very good.
Yeah, I think they've opened themselves up to criticism. Calls for speculation. We appreciate. Fine journalist Bruce Murphy, editor at the Urban Milwaukee-online daily. No, you journalists don't like to speculate. Leave that to us pundits, Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce.
Okay, my pleasure.
Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. Phone lines open to you and toll free 844-967-2789.
I don't have a lot of expertise.
What would you say you do here?
Nothing! Absolutely nothing!
I don't even know my own website address.
You're so stupid!
So, Jesse, why should someone buying a home pay for an agent when they can go online or call the number on a for sale sign?
Great questions. First of all, never call the number on a sign to see a home. That's the seller's agent, and they don't represent your interests. If they show you a home outside of an open house, you forfeit your ability to have someone negotiate in your corner at no cost to you.
Well, with interest rates still at historic lows, how can buyers still get a great deal and protect their rights?
Step 1, find a buyer's agent that you trust. Your agent will best find the home that fits your needs, anticipate problems, and negotiate on your behalf from offer through closing day. And most home listing contracts stipulate that the seller's agent pays for the buyer's commission.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, they're honest. Whether buying or selling in Madison or Dane County, call Solidarity Realty, 608-284-9311, or find them at solidarityrealty.com.
On marijuana, unfortunately, as a public health issue and a public safety issue, I've opposed that.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta, how can medical marijuana help those addicted to opioids?
There's three big things. There's clear consensus now that cannabis can treat pain. That is not an opinion. That is a consensus conclusion by big scientific bodies like the National Academy of Science. We also know that it can help treat the withdrawal symptoms of opioids. People, they don't want to be on them anymore. They want to quit, but they develop the terrible withdrawal symptoms. And now we have evidence that it can actually help heal the part of the brain that is diseased in someone who's an opioid addict. If you had to start from scratch and design a substance to help lead us out of the opioid epidemic, like in a lab, it would probably look very much like cannabis.
Call Governor Scott Walker at 608-266-1212. Tell him good people do smoke marijuana. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
Have you outgrown your house? Are you sick of apartment living? Not ready to buy but know you need to move? Hi folks, this is Tom Hartman for CCL Management in Middleton. You should consider moving up to one of the finer rental homes CCL Management represents. Unique houses and condos, always clean, most are pet friendly. Visit cclmanagement.com today to find your new home. CCL Management, Dane County's premier leasing and property management company.
Call CCL Management at 833-0009. That's 833-0009 or visit cclmanagement.com today.
Jeff's Guitar Clinic is a multifaceted shop offering guitars, amplifiers, and all accessories, guitar lessons for all ages, and instrument repair of the highest quality. Jeff'sGuitar.com.
They'll challenge your authority because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, and in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
You're not wired to have a response to this sound. But when we introduce a new stimulus, Save the Food, we're helping to stop food waste. Save the Food. For tips and recipes, visit savethefood.com. Brought to you by NRDC and the Ad Council.
It's a lot easier to measure how many times students use a semicolon correctly in an essay.
Educated educators talking education.
Than it is to measure how many wonderful ideas are in that essay.
Busted Pencils.
There is no teacher shortage.
With Dr. Tim Slekar.
There is a teacher exit.
Featuring Matt Damon's mom.
You want to know what my mom would say?
We've had an intrusion into education.
Busted Pencils Radio. Saturdays at 11 on Resistance Radio.
The Devil's Advocates, because it's always 420 somewhere.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you so much for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. On Twitter at Devil Radio, and the party line to talk or text is 844-967-2789.
Dominic, thank you once again to Bruce Murphy, editor of the online daily Urban Milwaukee.com. I forget, they don't all want to rampantly speculate. That's just us.
Yeah, I didn't know you couldn't do that as a journalist.
Well, they try not to.
Some people say.
Here's a good piece. Dave Zweifel, man, I can tell it's a Monday. I haven't done this in a few days. At the Cap Times. Pardon me for wondering if Wisconsin taxpayers haven't given Scott Walker a $4 billion campaign donation. There's been clear evidence during the past several months that folks outside southeast Wisconsin aren't overjoyed that the governor is spending all that money in one tiny corner of the state. What about the rest of Wisconsin? Many are asking, couldn't $4 billion be passed around to small businesses and entrepreneurs across the state instead of going to subsidize one mammoth boondoggle, one mammoth Foxconn factory near the Illinois border? The rest is my editorialization. Walker, a master politician, could read the numbers. So maybe it's not a coincidence that the governor's public relations machine has been pumping out press releases every time Foxconn hires some small contractor in the far reaches of Wisconsin to help with the building of the Racine County factory. In Walker, with Foxconn officials in tow, has arranged for press conferences to make sure locals know at least a piece of that $4 billion Foxconn subsidy is coming their way. Even better, in election year, the governor accompanied Foxconn officials who have been giddy over Walker's subsidy for their plant.
Yeah, I bet.
On trips, first to Green Bay and then last week to Eau Claire, to announce that this suddenly kindly corporation will build facilities in their communities, employing up to 150 people, Dom.
Considering Foxconn's record of changing its mind, you might forgive those who say they'll believe it when they see it. But what better way to attack the negative fallout from the biggest subsidy to a foreign corporation in American history than to pick out some upstate communities with lots of voters and announce a modest investment? Former Milwaukee Journal staffer and now blogger James Rowan wonders if the governor's campaign ought to be reimbursing taxpayers for Walker's travel, security expenses, and other costs on these blatantly political excursions. And perhaps Foxconn ought to begin listing its expenses as campaign donations. The Taiwan-based corporation and governor's office, after all, are coordinating these events. That leads to an even more intriguing question. Rowan adds, can a foreign business make such donations to an American election campaign? Frankly, there isn't much anyone can do about it.
Don't you need a conduit like, let's call it the NRA, Dom?
It's another advantage that falls to the incumbent in an election year. He who controls the purse strings controls the message. It's just a little slippery, nevertheless. Dave Zwiefel, editor at the Cap Times, I think so, yes. I mean, come on, coordination nowadays? That's not even a headline in the state of Wisconsin.
Well, because it's not illegal anymore. Dom, we got another friend joining us next. He's Dr. Tim Slekar. He does Busted Pencils right here on the big Resistance Radio on Saturdays. Hey, stop hitting me. I didn't do anything to you.
Sorry about that, man.
Going to talk about education policies in the gubernatorial race. Scott Walker.
The education governor.
That's what he's claiming once again earlier today. And I know our friend Dr. Tim Slekar wants to draw distinction. Dami wants the voters to be well-educated voters and to understand the charter schools are not public schools, at least not by definition. So we'll allow him to make that point. He does so more eloquently, certainly, than you. And being a Monday, I'm not having much luck either.
Right, Dr. Tim.
So come back with us. Dr. Slim
Slim Shady.
Dr. Tim will be taking over from here. On the other side, more Devil's Advocates on Wisconsin's only Resistance Radio.
We are moving Wisconsin forward.
That makes no sense.
Having a great time.
I'm Jesse Pica-Holz with Solidarity Realty. If you're looking for a home in Madison or Dane County, call me. I know Madison. I know homes. I'll protect your best interests. Call Solidarity Realty at 608-284-9311 or search solidarityrealty.com.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
This is high blood pressure. Get back on your plan. Go to loweryourhbp.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
Here's how you get them. If someone invites you for a cocktail, you bring them beer. If someone invites you to dinner, you bring a casserole. That's how you make friends. That's the Wisconsin way.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison, resisting dirty carpets and harsh chemicals. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We're not using any soaps. We're not using any chemicals. We cost about the same as the other guys. You look at it and you go, where's the downside? You got a completely green clean. It's awesome. We guarantee it. There's no downside.
There's no downside. Use Zero Res. Call Zero Res today. 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
Listen and imagine. It takes 5 seconds to send a text, and for those 5 seconds, you're driving blind. Life is worth more than a text. Stay alive. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
James Santel, he's a former U.S. attorney. He's our guest live on Brady.
Once again, a pleasure to be with you, gentlemen, to talk about the latest news breaking as we speak.
The FBI raided Michael Cohen, Trump's personal attorney, but once they got there, then they went back and got a more thorough warrant and said, we'll take everything.
My first reaction is you need to teach criminal constitutional law. You've got it just right in terms of the process.
They are kind of a big deal.
This is a really big deal.
For Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Construction-related companies in southeastern Wisconsin are invited to a pair of informational meetings next week to learn about how to get involved with the construction of the Foxconn factory. The meetings will be held next Wednesday, August 1st, at Gateway Technical College in Sturtevant. Representatives from construction companies can sign up for the first session, which starts at 11:30, or the second session that begins at 2:30. To register, go to wisconvalley.wi.gov. And outside today, mostly sunny with temperatures in the upper 70s in Milwaukee, low 80s for Madison. Tonight, partly cloudy in Milwaukee with lows in the mid-60s, mostly clear in Madison with lows in the low 60s. You're listening to Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network.
The Devil's Advocates. Political commentary from the back of the class.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. It's Monday. Speaking optional. We welcome back a good friend of ours. He's Dr. Tim Slekar. He is the host of Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk right here on Resistance Radio. Airs on Saturdays, 11 to noon. Dr. Tim, welcome back to the big show.
Hey, what's happening, Mike?
Hey, Tim.
Tim, I got to ask you about our education governor, Scott Walker. He's claiming the mantle, and he uses as an example of his educationness Act 10 and fully funding choice schools.
Right. This is, I mean, how can you argue with that? I mean, Act 10, essentially has taken the teaching profession and put teachers in a route, leaving the classrooms as fast as they can. And voucher schools are taking more money from the already limited resources that public schools already have. So I see where he is the education governor. It makes sense to me.
Tim, of course, it's an election year, and Scott Walker doesn't mind changing his stripes or spots. Pick your leopard or tiger metaphor here. But, quite frankly, it's hard to recast oneself as some sort of, social liberal suddenly Do you think it's all the money this guy's got to run education ads and any kind of campaign ads he wants to, quite frankly? I mean, Scott Walker could claim to be the Pope and the Messiah, and if he ran millions of dollars worth of ads, there'd be some in Wisconsin believing it, Tim.
Well, I don't, is he doing the Trump thing? Like, look, my people like me, they'll believe anything I say, so therefore when it's true, is he delusional enough? Or is it the part of the fact that maybe sometimes voters don't have as long a memory, and so his, quote, increase to the budget that he claims, which is actually not an increase if you take away all the total amount of money he took out over the years. But some people are going, yeah, he increased it. The other one I love that he's claiming is his savior for rural schools, which essentially was, hey, I'm going to allow rural people to tax themselves more to pay for the cuts that I already took from their schools.
Yay!
That to me is, I love that. That is truly educational progressivism. You people who have no ability, really, from a tax-based standpoint to do it, but I'm going to allow you to raise taxes on yourself so that you can recoup some of the money that I took from you. That's my rural school saving program. So, yeah, I'm the education governor, man.
Well, this distinction education broadly, yeah, if you include the choice schools, the voucher schools, Scott Walker has done a hell of a job diverting from the public commons to the private charter, private voucher system. Explain this concept, if you will, for people. It's not just that there's a public school system that Scott Walker's funding. It's that there's a private school system, and Scott Walker would like to make them effectively equitable at the expense of the public school system, at least as I see it, Tim.
I think you see it just fine, Mike. I mean, the voucher, quote, expansion. Now, remember, vouchers were supposedly only for kids that were, quote, in struggling schools and was only supposed to help them get out of that. But now anybody can take that. And, in fact, as we see, the 70% of the recipients of the voucher expansion were already in private schools. So, therefore, having the public subsidized private schooling. So there again, there's the education governor striking out and making sure that all people get educated at the taxpayer's expense. So I don't know, maybe he's just a crazy, spending money on education, just not on the public education. Private education, yeah, we've got more than enough money from that. The voucher system is the quintessential take from the public school, give to that, send to the private school. No accountability, nothing there. And in fact, would point to me, anytime you use vouchers as you're doing something for education, what you need to say is, I'm undermining public education, therefore I'm implementing a voucher program.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Got Dr. Tim Slekar, the host of Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk, right here on Resistance Radio on Saturdays, 11 to noon. Tim, there are at least a handful of gubernatorial candidates on the Democratic side that would advocate for effectively ending the voucher program, over some period of time. However, I would say recent polling would suggest that the current superintendent of the Department of Public Instruction, Tony Evers, is starting to feel like a foregone conclusion. Looks like Tony may be the guy. So here's my question. Where's Tony stand on this issue of vouchers? And I know you've taken some issue with his acceptance of charter schools, but explain that distinction, if you would, for our audience, Tim.
The distinction with charter schools and vouchers, or both?
Well, just laid out for the people, Tim. What do you think about Tony Evers as the Dem gubernatorial? Will he end voucher schools, to your opinion?
He has stated that you cannot throw 30,000 students out on their rear ends without anything, and so he's not willing to undo the voucher program as it is. some people may say that's practical. I've said this before. You don't have to send 30,000 kids out on their rear ends because they actually came from public schools. And so the idea of ending the voucher program would only send kids back to their own neighborhood public schools and would restore funding. So I'm confused as to why a Democrat would have a tough time coming out against the voucher program, and in fact coming out to the point of saying, yes, I want to eliminate it and I'm going to eliminate it over time. But the front runner has decided that he's not going to eliminate that program. I don't know. I think that's a decision. You talk about polling. I still wonder about the 30-plus people who haven't decided yet, 30% of the people who haven't decided yet, whether or not the polling is really an indication of what's really happening there. On the charter issue, too, the idea that we, as a public school supporter, also would go after a charter school grant that would fund charter schools that will directly compete with public education for their dollars. I have a tough time with that being part of a pro-public education platform. So it'll be an interesting contrast if it ends up being the current superintendent and Walker trying to outdo each other for, I don't know, for who's going to, on the voucher and charter thing, where I need to see the daylight.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network. Dr. Tim Slekar, host of Busted Pencil, Saturday to noon here on WRD. Also,
11 to noon.
I'm sorry, 11 to noon. Thank you. Also, the Dean of the School of Education at Edgewood College joins us on the phone. Tim, what about the capacity? If we were going to go in and the next governor, be it Evers or whoever it may be, decides, you know what, we're just going to end this thing and they somehow get it through and pass it. Does the public school system, as it stands now, have the capacity to absorb 30,000 students on, say, one school year's notice?
I think if you're talking about one school year's notice, no, we need to be realistic about rolling it back and figuring this out and rebuilding the capacity that a lot of these schools technically have lost because of the students that have left them. I mean, they've left some of the schools. The infrastructure needs to be rebuilt to put students back in place. That's not a reason why you don't do it, though. You do it because you believe that the public education system is where truly is the choice and where all students do belong, and that if they had a choice between a really great neighborhood public school, there would be no need for a voucher program. So we go back to Walker again, saying, when you defund the public school system and make it hurt, it then creates the sense that other people want to then have to leave the public school system because it's, stinky. Well, it's not stinky. It's been cut to shreds, and that's what it happens to look like in the emergency room right now. It's a bleeding, particularly in Milwaukee. The public system is bleeding and hemorrhaging from politicians continuing to put their little, remedy into the situation, which usually just means defunding the taxpayers and taking that money and out and doing away with public schools. So that's a long answer, Tom. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's quite all right. But presumably, I would think that at least the Republicans, given the status of voucher and charter schools, well, of course, they get the voucher school donations, right? I mean, Republicans have not been the recipient of grandiose public school union support in the past. So at least, they slice off this chunk of the public and they get a little piece kicked back to them. What a nice way. Let me ask you this, though. Talking about the education governor, certainly there are, conservative and Republican teachers in the public school system, members of the union. Have you had any interactions with folks that maybe lean more conservative but, are teach because this is what they love to do, and what their sense is with regards to Act 10 and what governor claims as being the education governor?
Yeah, it gets interesting when you start talking, because you're right. I mean, not every teacher is, some kind of crazy socialist progressive liberal, though the way they like to put them out there. In fact, there are, quite a few teachers that are moderate, middle, even conservative to the side. However, when you start talking about defunding them, I have not met a, quote, conservative teacher that doesn't look at Act 10's real effect. Now, the idea of union and stuff, there might be some differentiation, but the idea of how Act 10 was implemented and the losses that individual teachers themselves took and the public school system took, I have not found a conservative teacher that says, this was good for me, this was good for my kids.
Tim,
now, I've seen Governor Walker's ad, I've seen the teachers on his ads who say things are good, but as we found out, those teachers actually have their kids in private schools. So when they're talking about it seems to be good for public schools, obviously they've made a choice to send their kids to private schools, not to the public schools that they work in.
Tim, we know that we've got a splintered dim electorate. While there might be an overwhelming desire to see some change in the way we address education of our children in the state of Wisconsin, there's no clear messenger. And I think we're seeing, I mean, it appears more and more each day like it's going to be Tony Evers, because I don't see anyone catching fire or catching Tony Evers. You know, ultimately, maybe we'll all be shocked on August 15th, but presuming maybe Tony Evers is the front runner and he wins the primary, do you think that this will shed more and more light on this education issue? Tim, do you think that this might be the big issue of the fall? We know lots of school districts have passed referendums, effectively raised their own taxes because this is such an important issue to their communities.
Absolutely. You just pointed it out. In fact, this is one of the things that from an education insider policy wonk guy like me and a person who likes to talk a lot about it, I cannot yet figure out why there isn't one Democrat that has figured out that the message on this is to be absolutely awesome on public education. And for some reason, that doesn't seem to want to catch fire to some of those people staying, you know, under Tony's lead, the lead that he has. And that's a mistake. However, if they don't learn from that, those other candidates, which I think could give any one of them a huge bump if they actually were the true messenger of public education, then it's going to be up to Tony. And the issue in the fall is going to be massive because there's going to be a massive discussion about education in Wisconsin. So, however, if you're a Democratic candidate running for governor right now and you don't have a bold, awesome message about education, that's your fault. And if you lose the primary, that's on you.
Hey, Tim, one last question before we let you go today. Milwaukee Journal Sentinel Jennifer Walter. DPI calls for more than $60 million boost in school mental health services. The largest chunk of that, according to the reporting, $44 million in aid for social workers and mental health staff in schools to address the low ratio of social workers to students. Now, I didn't know this, Tim. According to the reporting, today there is one social worker for every 1,528 students in Wisconsin. Nationally, the recommended ratio is 1 to 400. We are wholly undersourced in that regard. Just want to get your reaction to that, Tim.
You know what? In the dark cloud that is public education funding, this is one bright spot of sunshine to see and recognize the reality of what people have been saying is that the crucial support that students need just doesn't come from teachers. Every one of those support staff and that social worker, when you give that ratio that you just said, every student to one social worker, and people, you wonder why we've got a problem. We need to fund this. This is the right thing to do because we know the more support students get, the better they do, the better the schools are. So, hey, fund the social workers. But on top of that, fund the special education assistants, fund special education, fund teachers, fund all of it because it makes sense because when you fund it, it works.
Oh, you bleeding heart liberal. You want smart, educated kids questioning authority, and there's no room for that here in Walker's, Wisconsin, Tim.
Well, hey, I would point that out is saying if you're out there looking for a bold message, if there is not a reason for a bold electorate, a public education system that would re-educate our voters into why they need to get off their butts and start doing their job, then you don't get it. Public education is the only way you're going to change this disaster that is Walker, that is Trump, that is our national disaster right now, which is apathy and voter disillusionment. We need to re-energize it. Public schools are it.
Well, we got to throw in a healthy dose of Resistance Radio. Got to educate the parents as well. Dr. Tim Slekar, the host of Busted Pencils, right here on Resistance Radio. Thanks, as always, for your time, Tim.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it, man. Rock it out.
Thank you, sir.
Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. Phone lines open to you, 844-967-2789. Staying in Wisconsin, backyard politics next.
If there's one thing I've learned in life, it's that learning things never taught me nothing, and books is the worst.
I'm Andy Buck, Field Representative with Painters and Allied Trades of Wisconsin. It's an issue that brings constant challenges for building contractors. How to find qualified painters, glazers, and drywall finishers. IUPAT knows what you want. A professional job performed by skilled workers who care about safety, training, and finishing strong. Workers who are reliable and ready on demand. Let IUPAT provide the people power that you need. You'll feel confident the job is finished right. Connect at IUPATDC7.com and finish strong.
I'm afraid right now for the future of my children's generation and those to come.
In this age of mass school shootings, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker offers the same bold agenda of the National Rifle Association.
Make sure you remember in your thoughts and more importantly in your prayers.
While Walker offers platitudes, he blocks meaningful gun safety legislation.
It's really an honor to work with the NRA, not only in my state, but across the country. And I'm proud of my A+ ranking as a governor.
Walker weakened the gun laws in Wisconsin, and then he got $3.5 million worth of NRA support.
There have been men and women of courage who've been willing to stand up and think more about the future of their children and their grandchildren than they thought about their own futures.
Scott Walker, you are not one of them. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org. The Resistance is live 7 days a week here on 1510 AM WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. Tune in Sundays for Meet the Press with Chuck Todd from 11 a.m. to noon. Then it's the Jeff Santos Show, kicking ass for the middle class from 12 to 3 p.m. And Citizen Action's Battleground Wisconsin rages from 3 to 4 p.m. Get your groove on with Stu Man PM, politics and music, 4 to 6 p.m. with Stu Daniels. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio.
Milwaukee County. This is Ernell Lucas. Dr. King once said, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. It's not every day we find ourselves in situations that define our character, but I've had many. As a young police officer, I was shot in the face by an assailant, nearly making the ultimate sacrifice. I gathered the courage to return to duty because of my passion and commitment to serving and protecting our community. More recently, after the careless disregard for human life in the Milwaukee County Jail, I summoned the courage to stand up to a failed sheriff and his commanders. For over 40 years, I have stood watch over our community, keeping you safe and protecting our national pastime. On Tuesday, August 14, show your courage by standing with me to restore honor, integrity, and trust to the Sheriff's Office. I'm asking you to vote Ernell Lucas for Milwaukee County Sheriff, a leader with the courage to stand up for our community.
Paid for by Lucas for Milwaukee.
Here at Bounce Milwaukee, we not only want families and friends to build connections, we also want to grow those connections in our community. That's why every Wednesday night from 5 to 8 p.m., we host Refuel the Resistance. It's a great chance to have a drink in our arcade bar, try something from our fantastic restaurant, connect with progressive activists, and support local organizations. For more information about Bounce Milwaukee's Refuel the Resistance, visit us at bouncemilwaukee.com or call 414-312-4357.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
Save the $2 on tomorrow's paper. Listen to the Devil's Advocates today.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, streaming on the YouTube and Facebook pages, the Twitter handle at Devil Radio, and the party line 844-967-2789.
And thank you to our most recent guest, Dr. Tim Slekar. Busted Pencils plays out between 11 and noon right here on Resistance Radio on
just
Saturdays.
What I said.
I feel a little smarter just for having him on as a guest.
He is a sharp dude. He's a fun guy, too.
Now, I'm going to call it a rookie mistake, Dom. Kelda Royce got PolitiFact blasted with a false statement. And the rookie part is the statement she made was valid, a valid punch to Scott Walker's temple in all ways except for the calendar year. The statement she made was about the manufacturing and agribusiness tax credit in the state of Wisconsin. Her claim is that in 2017, wrong year, that Wisconsin hemorrhaged about 4,000 jobs when the manufacturing and agricultural tax credit was fully implemented. Now, let's not forget, Dom, that's about a $350 million annual expenditure.
Twice as much as
of
they
the
thought
taxpayers.
It was going to be.
More than twice as much. But the problem is, Kelda got the year wrong. And in the year 2017, there was actually a net growth in the manufacturing sector in the state of Wisconsin of about 8,000 jobs. But the year before, 2016, there was a net loss of just under 3,776 jobs, if my memory serves, Dom, and a loss of almost $400 million in wage. So, as a criticism of the Scott Walker policies, blew the budget, didn't accomplish its goal, lost worker wages, it basically is a big-ass corporate giveaway to millionaires and billionaires. And Kelda, when questioned, her campaign team, Brian, someone from the team.
Evans, quote, the tweet should have said 2016 instead of 2017, and we fully admit that this was an error on our part.
Don't admit the error. Come out, blast, and punch him in the other temple and say, so you mean to tell me $700 million invested, quote unquote, kickbacks to his billionaire and millionaire donors. $700 million got us a net 4,000 jobs over 2 years. I'm not apologizing for that. The governor should apologize to each taxpayer in the state of Wisconsin, and instead, he's going to tell us to suck lemons and pay $4.5 billion to a foreign corporation who will effectively, even if highly profitable, pay no 0.4% taxes here in the state of Wisconsin. Rookie mistake. You need to catch fire, Kelda.
You couldn't be my communications director, Curdy.
Come back with us. I'll straighten them all out. 844-967-2789, or you can straighten me out. I just like to get the facts right.
No, I'm going to stay for a while. How about that? Freedom.
So, Jesse, why should someone buying a home pay for an agent when they can go online or call the number on a for sale sign?
Great questions. First of all, never call the number on a sign to see a home. That's the seller's agent, and they don't represent your interests. If they show you a home outside of an open house, you forfeit your ability to have someone negotiate in your corner at no cost to you.
Well, with interest rates still at historic lows, how can buyers still get a great deal and protect their rights?
Step 1, find a buyer's agent that you trust. Your agent will best find the home that fits your needs, anticipate problems, and negotiate on your behalf from offer through closing day. And most home listing contracts stipulate that the seller's agent pays for the buyer's commission.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, they're honest. Whether buying or selling in Madison or Dane County, call Solidarity Realty, 608-284-9311, or find them at solidarityrealty.com.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only ordering classic corner tavern.
Hey everybody, I'm Daryl Ingram of News Talk 1510 WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, and I am the Director of Advertising and Marketing. The pride of our independent stands runs deep in all that we do here at the station. The thing that I know for sure is that you can count on the quality and independent production of client advertising, mirroring the quality and independence of our fine programming here at News Talk 1510. To learn more, contact me at 414-335-0851 or via email at daryl@newstalk1510am.com.
You are listening to 1510 AM WRRD Waukesha, Milwaukee, and 1580 AM WTTN Columbus, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network.
Trump targeting intelligence, the Russia probe. I'm Ann Cates. President Trump wants to revoke the security clearances of former top intelligence officials.
Press Secretary Sarah Sanders indicates President Trump is looking to take away clearances for those the president sees criticizing him on television, starting with John Brennan, ex-CIA chief.
To take away Brennan's security clearance, he's also looking into the clearances of Comey, Clapper, Hayden, Rice, and McCabe.
Andrew McCabe lost his clearance when he was fired as deputy FBI director. Former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, a frequent Trump critic, responding,
"A petty thing to do," and that's about all I'll say about it.
Former NSA and CIA Director Michael Hayden, who served under President George W. Bush, responded that it doesn't matter to him. He no longer needs the clearance. Bob Costantini, Washington.
Both Republicans and Democrats on Capitol Hill are pushing back against the Trump administration's proposal. A dozen audio recordings seized by the FBI from the president's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, have been turned over to federal prosecutors. Correspondent MJ Lee reports one of the tapes is of a conversation between Cohen and President Trump.
This is a recording involving their discussions about the payment to the former Playboy model, Karen McDougal. The 11 other recordings, we are told, involve Michael Cohen speaking to members of the media and perhaps other people, but we don't fully know the details of those other recordings.
The New York Daily News has handed out pink slips.
The Daily News once had a staff of hundreds. Recently, it was down to between 75 and 100. Today, it shrank even further. The parent company, Tronc, announced that they were cutting the editorial staff in half, and they were getting rid of the editor-in-chief. The Daily News has been around since 1919. It has a history of sticking up for the working class in New York and uncovering public corruption, among other things. Steve Kastenbaum, New York.
On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 14 points. The Nasdaq gained 22. I'm Ann Cates.
J.D. Davis Funeral Home, located at 4803 West Burlott Street, is dedicated, dignified, and distinguished in serving you in your time of need. Direct cremation specials starting at a very low cost of $595. That does not include cremation permit or crematory fee. Traditional funeral packages starting at $1,995 with a 20-gauge metal casket included. Title 19, Milwaukee County General Assistance accepted. Call today, 414-444-8300.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Join the resistance against dirty carpets. Call Zero Res Madison today for our summer special. Clean and sanitize 3 rooms for only $139. Call 608-848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.
Tim Tebow will likely not be playing in the majors this year.
The former NFL quarterback and Heisman Trophy winner broke the hamate bone in his right hand as he took a swing during a minor league game last week. Tebow plays for the New York Mets AA affiliate in Binghamton and was put on the disabled list over the weekend. Tebow is scheduled to have surgery and probably won't play again this year as a result. He turns 31 next month and made the AA All-Star team this year. It was thought he could get a September call-up when the rosters expand with the struggling last-place Mets. He hit .273 with 6 home runs at Binghamton this season, his second year as a Mets minor leaguer after a 3-year career in the NFL. I'm John Stolness.
The World Series of Poker has set an attendance record for the 6th straight year. The poker extravaganza in Las Vegas drew almost 124,000 players, hoping to grab part of the $266 million prize pool. I'm Ann Cates.
5/9, your local single-source IT solutions provider, specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
Looking for a job worth talking about? Teaching is creative, collaborative, and intellectually challenging. See why teachers have better work stories at teachdfw.org and learn more about becoming a teacher. Brought to you by Teach and the Ad Council.
Once again, the American public has some reading to do. In a 29-page indictment today, Americans need to take a look at page 6, paragraph 20, and here come those important 8 words: to interfere with the 2016 U.S. presidential election. That is it.
Jim, I'm going to make a confession on behalf of the panel. Dom's not going to read the indictments.
Come on, maybe.
The Devil's Advocates, political commentary from the back of the class.
For Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. The 4 Democratic candidates for governor who are in the best financial position to challenge Governor Walker met for a candidates forum aimed at millennials yesterday. The forum was held at the historic Pabst Brewery in Milwaukee and featured Tony Evers, Malin Mitchell, Kelda Roys, and Matt Flynn. The primary election is August 14th, 3 weeks from tomorrow. And the Brewers lost to the Dodgers yesterday 11-2. They start a 3-game series with the Nationals tonight at Miller Park. And outside today, mostly sunny with temperatures in the upper 70s in Milwaukee, low 80s for Madison. Tonight, partly cloudy in Milwaukee with lows in the mid-60s. Mostly clear in Madison with lows in the low 60s. You're listening to Resistance Radio.
The following program is a presentation of DC Communications, LLC. Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we are sliding into the 5 o'clock happy hour here on Brady Street. It's a dry bar, though. It's not
I know what's happening.
as happy as it could or should be here.
We got to restock the fridge.
And Dominic, I've got more bad news. A Democratic participant in the gubernatorial field being criticized in the Journal Sentinel online at this hour. Molly Beck, Patrick Marley, a group of advocates for people with disabilities, is taking issue with a Democratic candidate for governor who, during a Sunday forum, the one Stu keeps telling you about, compared himself to a movie character with developmental disabilities. The reaction to State Firefighters Union President Malin Mitchell came as one of his opponents, former state Democratic chairman Matt Flynn, told reporters that he had the ability to put $140,000 into his campaign because most people didn't work as hard as I did. I'm not sure why that quote's relevant to this story at all, Dom.
Well, there's a couple of stories. It's a longer article, but let's get back to the Malin Mitchell story.
On Sunday, 4 candidates seeking to unseat Governor Scott Walker participated in a forum hosted by Next Gen America at Milwaukee's historic Pabst Brewery. During the event, the candidates were asked unconventional questions, like which actor would portray them, each candidate in the films. Who's that guy that played the Hobbit, Dom?
Come on, man.
You're thinking about it.
I'm trying
Sean
to
Astin.
Fredo? Was Fredo?
Oh,
Bilbo?
are you talking about Bilbo? Or are you talking about
Fredo, the Hobbit? He doesn't know. He's just making
Fredo.
He's just making
Frodo.
short jokes.
That's
Frodo.
that's Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood. There you go.
Sam was played by
I was
Sean
thinking
Astin.
maybe more like a Lilliputian.
And Crudy, you could do a hell of a Gollum. But go ahead.
Gollum. Come on, man. Gollum was a ugly guy, kind of skinny.
But Crudy,
Nothing like me.
You're very, very precious.
My precious.
On Mitchell's turn, Mitchell said, "This is going to sound good or bad. I don't know. But at the firehouse, they say that Cuba Gooding Jr. would play me, but when he played radio." Now, Dom, if you're not familiar with that film.
I am not familiar with
I have
that
not
film.
seen this one in years. In 2003, Gooding Jr. portrayed James Radio Kennedy, a man with developmental disabilities who was befriended by a high school football coach in 1960s. Kennedy earned his nickname because of his collection of radios on which he always tuned into Resistance Radio. I feel quite confident.
Sure he did.
Following Mitchell's comment, the audience laughed, and other debate participants, State School Superintendent Tony Evers Flynn and former State Rep Kelda Royce, smiled or chuckled. Beth Sweden, Executive Director of Wisconsin Board of People with Developmental Disabilities, said Mitchell's attempt at humor was not productive. Here's a quote, Tom. "Like all traditionally marginalized groups, people with developmental disabilities do not find humor at their expense to be productive or helpful to the broader community in better understanding their unique assets and abilities as well as their priorities and challenges," Sweden said Monday. But Mitchell's spokeswoman, Kristen Allen, said Mitchell was not trying to make a joke and was being serious. Mitchell did not laugh while responding to the question, but it gave license to Scotty Wanker, Dom. What the Goobinator tweet?
Walker on Monday in a tweet criticized Mitchell for the comment and highlighted workers with disabilities who have participated in a national program Walker and Democratic lawmakers have ramped up, which connects the state, local schools, service agencies for the disabled and employers. Here's the tweet from @ScottWalker. "Disappointed to see how Malin Mitchell talked about people with cognitive disabilities and that his opponents chuckled." Sunday's comment comes after Mitchell has drawn scrutiny in recent months over his style of humor. Earlier this year, Mitchell kicked off a forum on transportation issues with a crude joke about defecating. And earlier this month, Mitchell stopped short of using a racial slur while joking around with supporters in a video posted on his campaign Facebook account. Sweden said the disability community would rather hear concrete answers to their questions about issues important to them: transportation, employment, the direct caregiver shortage, and adequate Medicaid and school funding.
So not just Kelda catching the back of the hand, Dom, also Malin Mitchell catching hell from disability rights groups. Bad weekend for a couple of the Dems.
You know, as a candidate, I would think, and I've never ran for anything, don't know, but knowing how the world is.
Well, let me tell you, Dom.
Perhaps the only humor that should be, kind of joke, should be self-deprecating.
Yeah.
I mean, that if you're gonna make fun, you're gonna have joke. It should be at your own expense, because
Which the first joke about defecating, according to Malin Mitchell's prior comedy stylings, Dom, that was a self-deprecating joke at his own expense. The second one, basically, he pulled up short. He implied what he was going to say, which may or may not be funny to your construing, not self-deprecating, but not entirely a joke, as far as I could tell. And this newest thing, now, I have no doubt guys at the firehouse probably say, Cuba Jr. Gooding, but not show me the money, more like radio. You know, that's how they made fun.
Right, that's a rip on him. They're trying to, perhaps some locker
his
room
comrades
jokes,
in
as it
arms,
were.
if you will.
Yes, but no, come on, man.
Is that the benefit of those non-traditional forums, Don? Because I've asked a few
boxers or briefs.
I've asked a few non-traditional questions myself.
Well, and it came to his mind. I mean, obviously, it came up. Now, what I'm not clear on is how is it a serious response? What does he mean by that? I don't know if it's worth that kind of in-depth thought. Generally speaking, I think it should all be self-deprecating humor.
Well, Dom, I've got a very serious topic for all of our audience members right now. Scott Walker has made Wisconsinites not want to have sex. And I can back that up statistically.
Even after the Stormy Daniels Make America Horny Again tour rolled through Madison and Milwaukee?
Scott Walker took all the horniness out of the state of Wisconsin. And, in fact, the state's birth rate has declined 22%. It's at its lowest level since 1989. Hell, everybody's got a headache when this guy's the governor. No one wants to have children. Most people don't even want to have sex.
Abstinent only.
A new analysis of state health data from the Wisconsin Policy Forum found the number of births per 1,000 people dropped from 12.9 in 2007 to 11.5 in 2016. I believe Scott Walker. The birth rate is now at its lowest level in nearly 3 decades, falling more than 22% since 1989. The decline is largely in line with national trends, though Wisconsin's birth rate in 2016, much like everything else, Don, we trailed the nation, was about 5% behind the national average.
38th among other states.
38th? That doesn't make us a top 10 state, Scott Walker. You're not sexy enough as a governor.
Now, do we know if this data includes the Scott Walker love child?
Well, that would be prior to...
Okay, so it does not. Okay.
Mathematically speaking, that would be roughly 1990-91. So he was on the early part of the birth surge. Dave Collender of the Wisconsin Policy Forum said the trend means Wisconsin's population will continue to age, which may pose challenges for the state's economy. Wisconsin is going to need about 300,000 additional workers just simply to keep pace with workforce demands by 2040.
Damn.
Of course, millennials don't want to live here.
Not with Walker.
Nothing sexy about this state. Millennials have moved out and they're taking their babies and having them elsewhere. Dom. I blame Scott Walker. We're going to have to look at both the birth rate and how do we encourage in-migration. How do we get more workers into Wisconsin? How about we elect a new governor?
That'd be a great idea, Crudy. I love the way you think. Let's get a new governor. Let's bring sexy back. We got to bring sexy back.
Scott Walker responsible for the declining birth rates in the state of Wisconsin. Nothing sexy about this governor.
I don't see how it could not be Scott Walker.
There was no love, Dom. It was all divide and conquer. Well, you can't keep people apart.
Yeah, man, you got to bring them together. The love, baby. Scott Walker, we don't need your kind of governance here. We need someone to bring the love.
What they say about Republicans. They close the curtains even when they don't need to. Democrats don't close the curtains even when they should. Folks, we're the Devil's Advocates right here on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. 1510 Milwaukee, Waukesha. 1580 Columbus, Madison. Come back with us. Join us on the phones. We're ready for your booty calls right now at 844-967-2789. Devil's Advocates bringing sexy back.
Go ahead, be gone with it. Get your sexy out. Go ahead, be gone with it. Get your sexy out. Go ahead, be gone with it. Get your sexy out. Go ahead, be gone with it. Get your sexy out. Go ahead, be gone with it. Get your sexy out. Go ahead, be gone with it. Get your sexy out. Go ahead, be gone with it. Get your sexy out.
Aren't you ashamed?
I've not yet begun to defile myself.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
I'm Andy Buck, Field Representative with Painters and Allied Trades of Wisconsin. It's an issue that brings constant challenges for building contractors. How to find qualified painters, glazers, and drywall finishers. IUPAT knows what you want. A professional job performed by skilled workers who care about safety, training, and finishing strong. Workers who are reliable and ready on demand. Let IUPAT provide the people power that you need. You'll feel confident the job is finished right. Connect at IUPATDC7.com and finish strong.
Whoa. The moment my son saw a redwood tree.
It's huge!
Is the moment I knew that for him,
You can't even see the top of that thing.
even the sky has no limit.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. Your moment is out there. Find it at discovertheforest.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
I'm jumping in with my clothes on.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Join the resistance against dirty carpets. Call Zero Res Madison today for our summer special. Clean and sanitize 3 rooms for only $139. Call 608-848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
I would like to thank you, President Trump. I also want to express my thanks to Governor Walker.
Foxconn CEO Terry Goh is thankful to the Republicans who delivered his $4.5 billion in corporate welfare.
Thank you to Foxconn.
Scott Walker thanks the foreign corporation who received the largest corporate welfare subsidy in history.
Thank you, Mr. President.
What about thanking the hardworking Wisconsin taxpayers you saddled with a generation of debt for a project that may never be paid back?
People should be rushing to me and patting my back and say, hey, thank you, Mr. Foxconn.
Call Governor Scott Walker at 608-266-1212 and tell him no thank you to corporate welfare, no thank you to environmental rollbacks, no thank you to a project that may never be paid back, no thank you to Foxconn. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org. The Resistance is live 7 days a week here on 1510 AM WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. Tune in Saturdays for Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk with Dr. Tim Slekar, 11 a.m. to noon. Then it's the voice of the voiceless, champion of the working class. Earl Ingram's Saturday show is live from 12 to 3 p.m. Then Right Meets Left with the Joel and Joe Costa Show. Republican State Rep Joel Clayfish and Democratic State Rep Joe Costa Zamarupa go toe-to-toe from 3 to 4. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio.
The big and tall of political talk. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back, bringing sexy back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, streaming on YouTube and Facebook. On Twitter at Devil Radio, and the phone lines open for your calls right now, 844-967-2789. Could be like Curtis from West Allis, Wisconsin. Hey, Curtis. Happy Monday. Welcome to the show.
Dom.
What do you got today?
Hi, Dom. Hi, Spoot. Happy Monday.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, listen. The reason why we are nobody's horny in Wisconsin anymore because we have low-wage walker, you know?
Yeah.
When you have a low-wage walker, you're so stressed out on 1 or 2 jobs to have, plus you're trying to raise 1 child or no children. And you have no time. I mean, by the time you're actually done working, you're so tired you can't get it on no more, you know?
Too tired for some sex under low-wage walker. We're all too busy working, Curtis.
And if you can't afford to take your girl out on a Friday night, man, you're not getting any.
That's what I'm saying, you know? It's like we can't all be like Trump and pay all this money for all this, you know, high-class broads, you know?
What about the mood, man? I mean, what about the divide and conquer? The attitude of Republicans, of course, it's all missionary, it's divide and conquer, it's all about the money. Who's talking about the love? Who's talking about helping the neighbors out, helping everybody out, being a community of love, Curtis?
Well, exactly. And who can afford the Viagra anymore? You know what I'm saying? Unless you're in the military, you know, you can't get it. You can't get it. You know, you can't afford it.
Well, it is covered by many health plans, unlike women's reproductive care.
I know. Well, I know exactly.
Yeah. Hey, Curtis, thanks a lot, man. I always appreciate it.
That's mostly.
Have a great night.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks, Curtis. That's mostly because, you know, according to rumor, Republicans can't get it up, Don.
Is that why?
And therefore, they want to make sure that their Viagra is covered in their health plans.
What?
Even if they repeal and replace that Obamacare and close down every Planned Parenthood clinic in America, They need their Viagra.
Well, God made ED, right? So why should, the Republican conservatives, the Christians, go against God's will for them to have their ED and get access to their Viagra?
It's not so much that their penises don't work, Dom. It's that when you're closeted gay and you're trying to have sex in a straight, heterosexual fashion, it just doesn't always work right.
Well, it's not just that, but, rolling up $100 bills and trying to have sex with that just doesn't work either, man.
Got a little piece here, found it at the Post. I'm going to get it started, Dom. The plumb line opinion. Republicans are telling Democrats to move right. It's dreadful advice. The Democratic Party's steady move to the left in recent times, particularly in the past year and a half, is a sexy one, is one of the most important developments of this era in American politics. And inevitably, the concerned trolls are out telling the party that it will waste an opportunity if it goes too far to the left. For instance, here's former Republican James B. Comey.
Wait, he's a Republican?
Used to have security clearance, Tom, sharing his political insights about what does and doesn't affect election. Here's what Comey tweeted. Democrats, please, please, don't lose your minds and rush to the socialist left. This president and his Republican Party are counting on you to do exactly that. America's great middle wants sensible, balanced, ethical leadership. So tweets Comey. Here's Henry Olson, a senior fellow at the Conservative Ethics and Public Policy Center, telling liberals that they'll never beat President Trump with a bunch of leftist policy ideas. And it's not just Republicans. The group Third Way held a gathering of moderate Democrats so they could wring their hands about where the party is going. The Democrats, and this is a quote, Dom, the Democrats, in my opinion, would make a big mistake if they decide to run a base election and just say, our base is bigger than yours, said former New Orleans mayor and possible presidential candidate Mitch Landrieu. Why would that be a mistake? It worked for Trump, didn't it? And the Democratic base is bigger than the Republican base. The problem is their members don't turn out often enough. But let's put that aside for a moment. There's a misconception at the heart of this debate, one that says that this is nothing more than an argument over whether persuasion or mobilization, trying to convert those who aren't already supporting you or trying to get your own supporters to the polls is more worthwhile. The balance between those two strategies is an important part of and every election. But when we frame the choice between persuasion and mobilization as a debate about ideology, we make a fundamental mistake, believing that the way to persuade voters who aren't already supporting you is to moderate your positions on issues. While that may seem perfectly logical if you're a political junkie, in the real world, it seldom works. The reason is that most voters don't think in ideological terms. They aren't maintaining a running tally of position candidates have taken, then assigning each candidate a score, +1 for her positions on abortion and healthcare, -1 for her position on NAFTA, then seeing which candidate total comes closest to the ideological score they've assigned themselves. That's just not how voters make decisions, Tom.
Nobody understands this better than Republicans. After all, it's the reason they can keep winning elections despite the fact that most of the things they want to do are absurdly unpopular. Tax cuts for corporations and the wealthy, stopping any increase in the minimum wage, taking away protections for people with pre-existing conditions, opposing even universal background checks for gun purchases. These are not popular ideas, yet Republicans don't spend a lot of time worrying about whether they're moving too far to the right because they find ways like stoking culture war issues and playing on racial resentment that push them over the finish line. What the concerned trolls are advocating is that Democrats go back to being afraid of their own shadows the way that they were for so long, convincing themselves that the American public is extremely conservative and that if they don't become more like Republicans, then they have no hope of winning. It's a belief shared by pretty much every losing Democratic presidential candidate for the past few decades, all of them radiated in sense of insecurity, apologizing for their beliefs and those of their party. It's something Republicans never do. That's not to say that there aren't some Republicans out there who can't be persuaded to vote for a Democrat for Congress this year or Democratic presidential candidate in 2020, but they aren't going to be won over by candidates who say, I'm kind of too liberal, so how about it? I'm kind of not too liberal, so how about it? They want candidates who speak to their concerns and who aren't ashamed of their own views. Views, by the way, that are far more popular than moderate Democrats and Republicans would like to admit. We can have a debate about the practical challenges of implementing Medicare for all, for instance, but the idea is hugely appealing, even to many Republicans.
Folks, we're the Devil's Advocates. Won't have time for the conclusion, but you can always join us. Still time for your calls at 844-967-2789.
I don't care about those people, man. I could care less what they think.
Very powerful.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
You are listening to 1510 AM WRRD Waukesha, Milwaukee, and 1580 AM WTTN Columbus, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network.
Milwaukee County, this is Ernell Lucas. How much longer must we wait to drive a freeway system free from reckless, intoxicated, and wrong-way drivers? How much longer will it take before we can enjoy a park system where our seniors can safely go for a walk and our young people can run and play? How much longer will it be before you are served by a sheriff's office that honors the dignity of every human being, including those detained in the jail? As your next Milwaukee County Sheriff, I will ensure your safety on our freeway system and in our parks. I will lead a sheriff's office that honors all human dignity and protects individual rights. On Tuesday, August 14, I am asking you to vote Ernell Lucas for Milwaukee County Sheriff. How much longer will it be before we build a strong and safe Milwaukee County? Not long.
Paid for by Lucas for Milwaukee.
Today we decided to walk to school. The light counted. 15, 14.
13?
We took a left on Carroll Street. Danny's smart, but he gets distracted. He realized he forgot his homework. I hope he doesn't have another bad day at school.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. That's why there's Understood.org, a free resource for the parents of the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues. Go from misunderstanding to Understood.org. Brought to you by Understood and the Ad Council.
Live via phone, he is former U.S. Attorney Jim Santel.
Firing Bob Mueller doesn't mean that the prosecution, the investigation goes away. Pardoning one individual does not mean that you undo everything that has been done before. So this notion that somehow by shutting down and by pardoning and by sort of stopping the process, you're also stopping the wheels of justice is simply, again, it's simply wrong.
The Devil's Advocates, weekday afternoons on 1510 AM, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio.
For Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Construction-related companies in southeastern Wisconsin are invited to a pair of informational meetings next week to learn about how to get involved with the construction of the Foxconn factory. The meetings will be held next Wednesday, August 1st, at Gateway Technical College in Sturtevant. Representatives from construction companies can sign up for the first session, which starts at 11:30, or the second session that begins at 2:30. To register, go to wisconvalley.wi.gov. And outside today, mostly sunny with temperatures in the upper 70s in Milwaukee, low 80s for Madison. Tonight, partly cloudy in Milwaukee with lows in the mid-60s, mostly clear in Madison with lows in the low 60s. You're listening to Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
Radio has changed our lives and possibly saved our lives.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. The happy hour continues. Dom, we were reading from a Paul Waldman piece at the Washington Post. Republicans are telling Democrats to move right. It's dreadful advice. I'll say, Dom. The passion is on the left. Over here by me. This is where the passionate reside, Dom.
A couple paragraphs. Let's wrap up this piece and let's talk about this briefly. Again, Paul Waldman concludes, aren't there places where he's a Nancy Pelosi Democrat can still be a potent attack? Maybe, even if the idea that...
Did the Republican Party of the state of Wisconsin utilize that very attack this weekend when Nancy Pelosi was in town?
I didn't see, I was out of town this weekend, but I'm sure they did. But I continue. Even if the idea that screaming about Pelosi changes anyone's mind has long been asserted but never demonstrated. But if you think conservatives dislike Pelosi because they've carefully assessed her issue positions and decided that she's more liberal than they are, you don't know much about how politics works. For those who eagerly imbibe regular diatribes about her from Rush Limbaugh or Sean Hannity, Pelosi is a symbol, not an ideology. She represents women who tell men what to do and snooty coastal elites, not a collection of positions on issues. Now let's address the question of mobilization. Crudy, you brought it up. Right now, the Democratic Party is benefiting from a huge wave of enthusiasm, especially from liberals, many of them young people who are tired of the timid politics that has characterized the party for so long. Democrats' biggest problem in midterm elections is always that the Republican base, older, wealthier, whiter, tends to turn out at higher rates than Democratic base in off years. If Democrats are going to win this year, they have to ride that new energy. And nothing would puncture it quicker than the party making a collective decision that what it really needs is the more tentative, apologetic strategy that has failed them so often in the past.
I'll say, Dominic, here's the great news, right up until it gets bad. The great news is there are liberal groups right here in the state of Wisconsin trying to help the electorate sort it all out. They had this Wisconsin Chooses process.
Yeah.
The Wisconsin Working Families Party
Our
and
Wisconsin Revolution.
Our Wisconsin Revolution came together, got a Final Four together, and had the people vote. And now, Dom, we've got the results, sort of.
Drum roll, please.
Let me read from the piece. I found this one. Sean Johnson, our friend at Wisconsin Public Radio. 2 liberal groups that used online voting in an effort to narrow the Democratic field for governor won't, as in will not, endorse any of the candidates after all.
Wah, wah, wah.
The groups, Our Wisconsin Revolution and the Wisconsin Working Families Party, conducted the votes as part of an effort they called Wisconsin's Choice. During the previous round of voting in June, they identified 4 finalists: longtime activist Mike McCabe, Madison firefighter Malin Mitchell, former Madison State Rep Kelda Royce, and Alma State Senator Kathleen Feinhout. But Wisconsin's Working Family Director Marina Dmitrievich says none of the 4 candidates received the majority of the vote needed to earn the nod.
Oh, man.
And here's a quote. In fact, no candidate even received more than a third of the vote. The lack of endorsement marked an anticlimactic conclusion to a process that appeared to get the candidates' attention. Womp womp indeed, Dom. No endorsement. All this rigmarole for no endorsement. If there was an endorsement offered, it would be made here on the show. I said, if you're endorsing, we'll host it. We are not hosting an endorsement.
The threshold was 50% plus 1. And that was that was their own threshold. They could have made it whatever they wanted.
How about just the leading vote getter gets our endorsement, and then we might have a meaningful process.
Why wouldn't that be the case?
That doesn't leave everyone, unfulfilled like sex with Scott Walker.
Totally, absolutely unfulfilled. McCabe, Mitchell, Royce, and Feinhout, no one got more than 30%. But you could still say, and they haven't released the numbers, right? So we don't know.
They're not intending to release the numbers.
Yeah. So now what?
Nothing. It's a big nothing burger.
No, come on. Something's got to happen.
Nothing. The whole rigmarole was a big nothing burger.
Can they flip a coin? Can they have a do-over?
What, are we caucusing in Iowa now? Is it Bernie Hillary 2.0? No, I think effectively this whole exercise was for naught, Dom.
Well, I appreciate...
And I think they set themselves up for this criticism.
When you have 4 people left, I mean, 4. You know, and presumably, obviously, as they came in, but you could, with the threshold of 50% plus 1 and 4 candidates that you didn't break it down to, 3 or 2, as you continued the online voting, you could come up with a situation where it very well might be not 50% plus 1. And that's exactly what happened.
And leaving all of the participants. And I mean, and there are some good things that came out. They had like 5,000 people pledged to do like 10 hours each of campaigning. So there is a pledge of 50,000 hours of campaigning. That's a lot of canvassing. But ultimately, when you have it's like kissing your sister. It's like a big freaking tie. It's like, hey, sorry, the game was called after 4 innings. The outcome really doesn't matter, and we're not going to make up the final.
That is very, very, it's unfortunate. Because I certainly do appreciate them going through the efforts and getting people motivated and getting them involved. I mean, these are good and great things. The effort was fantastic. Just the threshold and the logic at the end, leaves us all wanting a little more.
Dominic, let me question. What are we going to do August 14th? Where are we going to watch the elections? You and I.
August 14th.
I mean, are you even planning on are you voting in the primary, Dom?
What's August 14th? Yes, I will vote in the primary.
3 weeks from tomorrow is Election Day in the state of Wisconsin.
It's coming quick. I don't know I haven't really thought about it, man. I mean, certainly we'll be here doing great radio, but I haven't given any consideration to where I will be when the returns come in, and I haven't made up my mind for whom I will be voting.
Do you think Tony's party will be the party to be at? I think it'll go late in the evening.
I don't know. I kind of hope Malin or Kelda wins. I think Malin has the best party, at least if I'm going to judge by partying and activities and dancing and fun at the Democratic Convention in Las Vegas.
Are you implying that Malin has won your endorsement in dancing with the gubernatorial candidates?
I mean, if it's a dance-off, man, everybody gets served. Malin wins. No doubt about it.
Is that your criterion? Will that factor in your vote in the primary? Malin's a hell of a dancer.
No, that will not factor into my vote.
Now, at this thing at the Pabst Theater or whatever it was yesterday, Malin chose to put on his firefighter gear.
He had all the gear on, yeah.
He had like a minute to get it on. I think he did it, the crowd chanted out the time, 1, 2. I think he got to 46, and he was fully geared. Seemed quite vibrant in that activity. I mean, that's not like gear, Dom.
Oh, hell no. I mean, that is a task to get in there. I mean, hell, it takes me longer to get dressed, and I got flip-flops on.
And those are a challenge for you, I know, Dom. What do you think about last night's event, the next-gen event, which no one... correct me if I'm wrong. Did anyone in this audience even know that event was going on in Milwaukee yesterday?
I saw some Facebook feeds this morning referring to it, but that was my only indication that anything was happening.
The other event, I mean, we do media and we try to promote our events. If we think it merits play out on the radio, we try to tell people, hey, why don't you listen? But the WTMJ televised debate that they did not let the press in the room, and the press feed died in the second half an hour.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the live press, including the Journal Sentinel, who were broadcast partners, even Marley wasn't allowed in the room.
What?
Yes.
Why?
I didn't make the rules.
That's stupid.
They had them. Remember the big presidential debates, and people wonder, you go out to cover a debate. And most of the time, the room is a small, relatively speaking, a small room. I mean, I think some of the biggest debates we were at, maybe Vegas, 1,500 for a presidential.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not huge halls. These are not like concert-style debate. And I would say the fact, and this almost went unnoticed, thank goodness, but I'll tell some secrets. The room was half empty. And that's what was most frustrating about the WTMJ debates. The room half empty and the journalists not allowed in the room, including those from cooperating media outlets.
Right.
I mean, talking about getting, thank goodness we were not a part of that, because if I'd have been in the other room with no feed on the live debate, and I'm supposed to be covering it, and I'm a broadcast partner.
And you can't be in the room, and there's no information coming over the line. Yeah, I'm sure you would handle that as a professional, Crudy.
You know me. I'd have been nothing but a pro. So I guess here's my question. If you're going to have these events, shouldn't you promote them? Shouldn't I have heard of this event before I heard about it all day long on the newscast here on Resistance Radio? Talking about an event yesterday that I can no longer attend, and that, the most newsworthy part of apparently was the fact that Malin put on his firefighter gear, and he claimed if someone should play him in the movie, it should be Cuba Gooding Jr. from the movie Radio, which offended disability rights activists. I, with a son who has autism, much less offended than some would have been, Dom. I just don't get that offended that readily.
Really?
Really. Don't even act like I do, man.
Come on, your sensibilities, you get offended all the time. What are you talking about?
Only when it's merited.
Well, how do we know when it's merited?
I will tell you on the radio. Be upset. Here's why.
Let me tell you why. No, McKelda had the PolitiFact. Was that a statement not said at the event yesterday, or was that something older?
They did quote her. She was at some event, and her misspeak was the 2017. She meant 2016. The information inaccurate. The rookie mistake part is
the response.
Don't say oops. Say, screw that guy. That guy, has been bad on jobs.
The point still remains.
Absolutely, and the information was correct. It pointed towards 2016. And the fact that we created 8,000 jobs with a $350 million incentive, $700 million over 2 years. Yeah, I think she could have more sharply responded.
When you say 8,000 jobs, that's gross. That's before you
That was the 2017 number.
And 2016 number was minus 4,000, so you had 4,000 net for spending
$700 million in taxpayer perks.
Yeah, punch back. Yeah, I mean, you get dates wrong, you get specifics wrong, but it doesn't take away from what the point of the message is. I mean, hell, we get stuff wrong here sometimes.
I've heard that you get stuff wrong sometimes. Yeah. 60% of the time, we're right every time.
Every time.
I tell you what, let's take a quick break. We are the Devil's Advocates right here on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network. We'll take your phone calls, even you righties. 844-967-2789. One segment. Give us hell if merited. Mostly Dom. You know how it goes.
Bring it.
Bring it.
And the hot box comes with a crime inside. Oh yeah! Today on this program you will hear the sound of our soul.
If you want, we can leave the press, or we can have the press leave immediately. I'll leave that up to Scott Walker.
They'd like to take me out for a lot of reasons far bigger than just this election.
Get him out.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We've got a patented system. We also do another step that most people don't do. We have a double rotating brush machine that we use when we pre-treat the carpet. So this helps dig up any of that stuff that's deeper in your carpet that the vacuum doesn't get. We're going to provide that intermediary step before we clean with our empowered water.
Call Zero Res today, 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Hi, I'm Becky from Bounce Milwaukee, and I want to be the first to invite you to our newest attraction, axe throwing at Fling Milwaukee. Bring your friends, date, co-workers, or family to experience the rush of throwing axes at Milwaukee's first indoor throwing arena. Open 6 days a week for corporate team building, bachelor and bachelorette parties, date night, or just a fun night out. More information at flingmilwaukee.com or 414-312-4357.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
Person who's against these regulations to keep poop out of your water and poison out of your food, if one of their offspring had a third arm coming out of their forehead,
I would just think that would be awkward. You'd be very top heavy.
But you would be one heck of a football player.
How would they make a helmet?
All you gotta do is cut a hole in the helmet for the hand to come through, and you could catch
but then
passes
you're
all
elbowing
over the
everybody in the face every time you walk around.
Wear an elbow pad. You'd be fine.
How would you see?
You would be a heck of a football player.
Would you be an arm unicorn?
414 Wisconsin, weekdays 2 to 3 p.m.
Hi, Resistance Radio listeners. This is Kim Schrader, the president of the Milwaukee Teachers Education Association. We are the 4,600 educators who make Milwaukee's public education system possible. MTA members are the guardians of public education because every single day we are fighting to strengthen and protect public schools our students deserve. MTA educators are leading the fight in Milwaukee public schools for smaller class sizes, more recess, physical education, art, and music opportunities for every child in MPS. MTA educators are the champions for healthier school meals, positive discipline practices, equitable schools, and schools that partner with parents. MTA members are the guardians of public education, and we are proud to teach all children, regardless of their zip code. To learn more, follow us on Facebook at the Milwaukee Teachers Education Association.
So, Jesse, why should someone buying a home pay for an agent when they can go online or call the number on a for sale sign?
Great questions. First of all, never call the number on a sign to see a home. That's the seller's agent, and they don't represent your interests. If they show you a home outside of an open house, you forfeit your ability to have someone negotiate in your corner at no cost to you.
Well, with interest rates still at historic lows, how can buyers still get a great deal and protect their rights?
Step 1, find a buyer's agent that you trust. Your agent will best find the home that fits your needs, anticipate problems, and negotiate on your behalf from offer through closing day. And most home listing contracts stipulate that the seller's agent pays for the buyer's commission.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, they're honest. Whether buying or selling in Madison or Dane County, call Solidarity Realty, 608-284-9311, or find them at solidarityrealty.com.
The Devil's Advocates. We drink when we toast when we drink.
And we are back. Thank you for listening. The Devil's Advocates radio show, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network. Last segment of the day. Party line, 844-967-2789.
Dom, there's no toasting. There's no drinking. I can tell you're getting the shakes a little bit over there.
Come on, man. It's been like 2 days. Let's
survive 10 more minutes. I'll take you to a bar, buddy.
All right. Whew. Joe, you can help us get through. Joe from Stevens Point, you are next. Thanks for calling. What do you got for us today?
Hey, guys.
Hey, Joe.
Great show. Hey, Democratic centrism is like the political capital of that has been decimated. It doesn't. It's the formula that Barack Obama lost 1,000 democratically held seats. It's what democratic dysfunction looks like. It's what people looks like when they're, they go to sleep. Nobody comes out because you know why? It doesn't excite anybody. The mood is going to be bubbling, even if Mike McCabe doesn't poll well. It's not because that thing isn't moving along. It's because democratic centrism, i.e., all the Russia talk with no reform, is centrism what we see, and that's there's no payout on that.
But Joe, shouldn't we see some evidence of that play out in the Democratic primary here on August 14th? I mean, if it is perhaps Tony Evers, if it is the apparent front runner who is successful, if he carries through to the general, that is sort of a pushback against that Bernie-cratic liberalism. I mean, that is the moderate candidate of the center is Tony Evers, and all indications are he's going to be our guy.
Yeah, but it's also like, I think you were pointing out that people aren't sophisticated, but you know what cuts through the unsophisticated political mind? A platform. And when we run as zombie skinwalkers against Donald Trump, and we give him the ability to garner a 43% approval rate And we're playing 2016 all over again. This is what whiffing looks like. There's no unity tour going on right now. There's a unity tour if you get into Russian hatred. But at the end of the day, these guys are not putting a team together. This is what suck looks like.
Joe, we're talking about centrist Democrats. How would you describe Bill Clinton's success in the 90s?
Okay, but that you just said it. It would be like I had a mullet up until 1991. Does that qualify? Should I bring the mullet back?
That depends. Did you perm the back, or was it natural?
No, I got some natural curl back there, so I think I had a bonus plan going on. But I had the MC Hammer pants.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
can't touch this, Joe.
Hey. Oh, man. But, hey, all jokes aside, I'll tell you what. There is an evolution going on right now, and Mike McCabe's stock is probably like Jeff Bezos' Amazon stock 2011. There is no excitement for Democratic centrism. It is what erectile dysfunction of the Democratic Party, that's what they're pushing right now. The undefined Democrat is the problem because we've got the Trump thing. We saw the results of that from 2016. To run the same thing over and over is not unity.
Joe, let me ask you this. Kelder Royce
yes, sir.
checks so many of the progressive boxes, plural.
Mm-hmm.
Mike McCabe obviously has got his own run. He's been out there doing it, door to door seemingly for the last 3 or 4 years. He might be a big surprise, but predicated on the current polling, Kelda's at 3%. I think McCabe's at 4%. Joe, where's the proof of life for Bernie-crats, for liberals like me?
Well, what I would ask you with this system and the dark corporate governance, do you want to keep betting on that? And do you think that that's going to really turn out the vote? Because that's really what's going on. And it's your style of politics. Do you think that that's going to pay out? I'm voting against it. That type of politics changed my politics. I used to be making the case that you're making right now. And you know what? I'll never make that case again. In fact, I can't wait to put my shoe in the butt of the next face that comes out of, talking progressive stuff, but showing up like Barack Obama and voting Republican right. Center-right Republican light politics is dead.
I appreciate the call, Joe. Thank you. You can be like Joe, 844-967-2789. Now, I don't cast the same aspersions. I don't think it was Obama's fault per se, although I don't think Obama wanted to get in the trenches and fight dirty. I think Obama was way too forgiving of those that preceded him. Somebody blew up the national economy. It was Wall Street. Obama did not prosecute Wall Street. And we talked about this last week, Dom. The impunity of the
elite.
They get away with it. They continue to do it. And even guys like Barack Obama, it happened, prior to his watch. It happened under George W. Bush. But someone had to prosecute the criminals, the war criminals, the Wall Street criminals. And Barack Obama let it pass and used what political capital he had to try and push through health care, which was a very compromised, complex piece of legislation that was very centrist by the time it finally passed. It was the Mitt Romney plan. When all was said and done, we passed a Republican plan, and Republicans said, that's heresy. That's liberal socialism heresy. Well, they've destroyed it now. Got something to vote for yet, liberals? Thanks for listening. Thank you to our fine guest, Bruce Murphy, editor of the online daily, UrbanMilwaukee.com. Thank you, Dr. Tim Slekar, host right here on WRD and WTTN. Busted Pencils on the Resistance Radio Network, 11 to noon on Saturdays. And don't forget, this Saturday will be a big one right here on Brady Street. We got new bumper stickers. Come down, see us, get a bumper sticker. It says Resist Trump. It's super cool, just like the Devil's Advocates. But you already knew that. Thanks for listening.
I'm using the talking points of the Democrats.
Have you outgrown your house? Are you sick of apartment living? Not ready to buy but know you need to move? Hi folks, this is Tom Hartman for CCL Management in Middleton. You should consider moving up to one of the finer rental homes CCL Management represents. Unique houses and condos, always clean, most are pet friendly. Visit cclmanagement.com today to find your new home. CCL Management, Dane County's premier leasing and property management company.
Call CCL Management at 833-0009. That's 833-0009 or visit cclmanagement.com today.
Hey folks, sexy liberal Stephanie Miller here. Most new Wisconsin jobs are in Dane County, it's true. Some of my listeners are relocating to Madison. Many already commute there. When asked where to turn for a trusted real estate team that